Where it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Oh, there we are. Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome back to Criminality. Or if this is your first time here, welcome to Criminality. Today, surprise, we're going to be talking about the Delphi trial. We are on day 16 of testimony, if you are counting it that way. And if you are counting it, including jury selection, we are on day 19. So some people you may follow may call it day 16. Others may call it day 19. It is the same day. It is Tuesday, November 5th, and the dogs are apparently ready to go. They're like, all right, let's do this. So, so far before lunch today, they've had 3 witnesses called by the defense. We've had some interesting juror questions. We've had an interesting juror say that he wanted the witness to be able to answer the question. And it's been an interesting morning. So I've tried to keep up on a lot of the reporting that's happening today from both sides of the fence plus mainstream media. And I could see it. I could see some of these witnesses going a couple different ways. But I also pulled up some an old lecture done by one of the expert witnesses, so I thought we could go over that. And we have Julie has the link, so whatever she has done in court, if she's in court, I haven't even heard from her today, so I'm assuming she is. She can come up and tell us whatever is going on. So let me say hi to you guys, and we're going to get started talking about day 16 of the Delphi trial, the state of Indiana versus Richard Allen. So, hi Lynette. They had court on election day. Yeah, she's not backing down. She's like, we're doing this. This is how it's going to go. Hi Sleuth investigates. Hi lady. My poor wee cat is cowering from the fireworks. Aw. Oh, poor kitty. Hi Jenny. What's up, Jamie? Hey Krista. Hi Marshall. Hi Hello Kitty. What's up, Rex? Hi Sunflower Soul. Hey Jennifer. Oh, well, thank you guys for being here for the coverage of the case. The Gary guy was on Hidden Gems. Oh, he was? He was on there? I'm surprised she let him on there. Or maybe just in comments. Hi, Tammy. What's up, KK Nichols? Hi, All Eyes. Hey, We Gobshite. What's up, Indiana Girl? Buckle up, Buttercups. Here we go. Hey, Richard. What's up, Rexy? Hey, Snappy. Hi, Sleuthy. Boo Sheet. Boo Sheet's in the house. Calling some Boo Sheet on this. What's up, Susie Q? Hey, Just Deb. Hey, Grandma 6. Hoping one day I'll look at a live and you are in Delphi. No luck yet. I know I'm actually I should be I should be in Delphi this week. This is the week I was supposed to be there and I canceled the trip. I know. But I did have a tiny human that stayed home from school today, so you know, it is what it is. What's up, T-Bone? Hey, Mama Bear. What's up, Joanna? Let's see who we got down here. Hey, Chancey. Shibby. Oh, you know I'm gonna filibuster. That's just how it's gonna go. I can't change the way it goes. Do the jurors get to vote in the election? You know, that's a great question. I don't know if she allotted any time for them to be able to vote. I don't know what she did with that. Yeah, but she had court today. I know, so I'm like, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe she gave them like a long lunch hour or something to go vote, or they got to early vote. Yeah. Or she lets them out early to vote. No. Well, she's Judge Gall. I don't know if you've heard anything about her husband, but she hinders everybody from everything. What lecture you're already speaking my language. All right, so we'll go through we'll touch on some of the stuff that's happened in court today, who they are and what they talked about. And I'm just trying to keep any updates coming in. Gold told them to vote before reporting for jury service on October 18th. She told the jurors to vote early and that she will not allow them time to vote during trial. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't know. It makes sense that she'd have to have done something. Hey, Journey. Hey, Lauren. Let's see. Boo Sheet's like, I voted. Been able to vote since October 8th. I vote by mail. He was interviewing with... Are you kidding? Oh. All right, then. Well, did you hear about the juror who spoke out letting the expert talk? Yeah, so first witness on the stand today was Betsy Blair. Defense calls Betsy Blair back to the stand. Everybody remembers Betsy Blair is the witness who was out for her walk, went up to the high bridge, saw a person on the first platform, turned around, walked away. She saw two girls that resemble Abby and Libby. She could not be sure it was them. And then she goes back to her car, finishes her walk, goes back to her car. She leaves. And when she leaves, she's actually driving by the old CPS building. She says that she saw an old model car like a Mercury Comet. And that she knows that it was that type of car because it was squared off. And that was the kind of car her dad had when she was growing up. So the defense calls her back because, as we all know, the prosecution has really limited the amount of questions that they're asking to that specific topic, and the judge is not allowing anything outside the scope of the direct questioning. So they call her back so they can get all the questions that they want on Betsy Blair. Are you sure this is the car that you saw? Like, this is, when did you see it? When were you leaving? So on and so forth. And she's, adamant, like there was no car backed into the CPS building when she left. There was this old model car, this Comet that she knows because of her dad's car. And if anybody is not really aware, she is also the one who was the contributor to Young Bridge Guy's sketch. So she is about 60-ish. And so, like, it was always, so I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly. She was about she's about 60-ish. So remember when, like, everybody was trying to tell us, like, if you're young and you see an old guy, like they're really old. And if you're old and you see a younger guy, then like they're really young. And I'm like, Richard Allen and her were like 10 years apart, if even. So I was like, it just never made sense to me. But we kept getting pushed that whole crap of this whole young guy, old guy stuff. I'm like, that's just not accurate. So the jury comes back and ends up asking her a question about, could she have seen like a work vehicle, like somebody who worked there? Let me go double check on these notes. But I thought that was kind of a curious question because have they not established that this was an abandoned building? Like there would be no employees there, or are they thinking that maybe it's like a Brad Heath car? I'm trying to figure out like who, like where the jury was going with that. Let me go down to the notes here. Yeah, like a worker belonging at the CPS building, but Blair said the building looked abandoned, but nobody checked to see if anyone worked there. I'm just kind of confused on that. Like, is it not clear to the jury that this is not a work building anymore? It's abandoned. It's old. I mean, it's not old, but it's like it's gone. Like at this point, it literally is gone. Hey, Dan. So I'm curious about that, and I'm curious why they just think that it could have been somebody who worked there. Either way, she's testifying that she doesn't see a. Didn't I say the building was gone? That's a different building. Okay, so you want to talk about? I'll show that. Hold on. Let me pull the map up. So there's this other building that was over on the other side, which is like the Mears, not the Mears. It's the trailhead parking. It's the Monon High Bridge trailhead parking, and I'll show you. It's going to take a minute probably for this to load. While that happens, let me close out this. You want me to play this on the live, Sleuthy? R and M's. Let's see. Let me download it real quick. All right, let's share the screen before I start talking about it like I shared it when I didn't, like I did yesterday. All right, I'm going to close that so it doesn't keep dinging on us. Okay, so just give me a second when I get all this stuff to load. So they, Sleuthy just sent a clip too that she wants me to play, so I'll play that, and then I'll talk to you guys about these, just the parking lots in general. It was actually, and I don't even remember because it was like last year sometime that one of you guys, one of the viewers, is like, "No, Teresa, like there is a parking lot right here, and you need." And then they were like sending me pictures of it because I didn't even know there was.
Well, guys, I'll tell you, this is pretty amazing. It's got me quite emotional. At the time when Lily's phone, guys,
Can you guys hear that? I didn't know she was live.
well, guys, I'll tell you, this is pretty amazing. It's got me quite emotional. At the time when Lily's phone went silent, there was something plugged into the phone. I didn't catch what times it was, but there was something plugged into the phone. That's all I've got, but there was something plugged in to Libby's phone during the time that it was silent. I don't know anything else than that, but I heard that from the defense ladies.
Wow.
I've enjoyed having boots on the ground, I'll tell you. It's been pretty emotional.
Yeah. Were you able to get into the courtroom today, or did you hear that from somebody who was?
I heard that from the direct source from the courtroom.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will not go in because I can't keep my big mouth shut.
I totally relate, Donald.
Okay, so he said he heard from somebody who's inside the courtroom. He heard from somebody inside the courtroom that there was something during this downtime of Libby's phone, that something was plugged into Libby's phone. So, I mean, it makes sense that somebody could be inside this reporting that, because we know that they still had, the defense was still going to call their cell phone expert. Okay. So, all right, we'll look at the update of that. So let me just go through this really quick. Let's go to 2017. So in 2017, you have, here's your CPS building, right? Now, if you look at it today, that CPS building, gone. Doesn't exist anymore. This is from February of this year. It's gone. It's not there. Okay. Now, if you go back to before the highway was built, because this Hoosier Heartland Highway has not always been there, obviously. That's why they have this old Route 25. This is like the old route. So you can see like where they put the highway right here. But before there was a highway there, this was an old building. And that's now like just an empty parking lot. So because we can't obviously see what he was pointing at when he's telling them where he parked, and he's like, no, like I went up here and then like I hooked around and I did this. So it's like, did he come up here and drive this way? Because look, see, there's like this old road that comes on this side of the CPS building. So when he's saying like an old building, like I parked where the old whatever was, is it this parking lot that no longer has these buildings? I don't know. This is just something that we were kind of talking about, but this is a parking lot. This is where people do park. So you have, here's your big blue Freedom Bridge, and he kept telling him it was by the small bridge. This is the small bridge over the old Route 25, where the girls were walking to go home, and Betsy Blair was driving up and to go to finish her walk. So she's driving this way. She sees 4 girls walking over the bridge. And if you continue to go up and you hook around, you could go into this parking lot. Or you could come up and you could hook around and you would go over here to where the CPS building is. Do you see what I mean? So like, and then he talks about like he would never take these gravel like paths because they didn't used to be there. So what, like, you go back in time. See, because this highway wasn't there. So this whole road was there to take you over to like 300 North. Do you see what I'm saying? This wasn't there. This is how you went, right here. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying? Like this didn't exist. This was the way it was, right here.
Loved ones taken too soon.
This is a shocking crime.
So just I'm considering that he actually may have parked over here, which I don't even remember which one of you guys. Hi, Kathy. Saw some mutual friends in line this morning. Aw, that happened. There's my FOMO right there, Kathy. I know I was supposed to be there this week and I canceled. So anyway, it's just a thought when he's saying I parked by the old whatever building. So I'm wondering if anybody who sees anything over at the CPS building even means anything. I don't know. I don't even know if it matters. I especially don't know if it matters at this point. Bob said he went with Kathy Allen to the place where Rick Allen parked. I haven't heard that. Did he say where it was? Well, we kind of understand now more. We understand more now from the interviews being played in court. He actually talks about the Mears lot. He doesn't call it the Mears lot. He calls it like the parking lot across from like the old farm. So I don't think Farm Bureau even has to do with anything. This is all just my, whatever. Like this is my thoughts. So he's talking about the old farm, which is Mears, which would be the Mears lot, and then other people refer to it as Sherry Mears, who was in a nursing home at the time of the murders. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't even know if it matters. It's probably not even that big of a deal. I'm just wondering if we've all for years been looking at a building that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. That's kind of where I'm at with it. He sounded like he guessed. You thought he called it the old farmer's lot? Well, I heard it was like the spot like across from the old farm. So I'm wondering if it had any, like, I don't even know. I don't know. I think this is where he parked. This is just my thought process. So like I said, there was all those rock trails that he's talking about that he didn't take, because this is back in 2012. So if we bump it up to 2017, see, like we have more of these rock paths, because this has all been this whole area got changed around. He may have said old farm. Yep, old farm, and Doolin was like, oh, the old Farm Bureau building. And then the investigators took that and changed it over to the CPS building, and none of them had anything to do with anything. Right, he just didn't know this was called the Mears parking lot. So they're like, the Mears parking lot? And he's like, I don't know, like the one from across the street from the old farm. But he said they didn't park there that day. I don't know. This is why hopefully we can get at least some of the evidence, and we'll be able to go through and hear it all for ourselves. It's really tough. I mean, it's really tough, especially, I'm gonna be super honest here. The more time that some of these people are spending inside the courtroom taking notes, their bias is really starting to show, because they have their and this isn't bad, and I don't mean this bad towards any of them, because obviously I would be the same way. But now it's like, because they're already getting in their minds whether they believe he's guilty or innocent, or going to be found not guilty or factually innocent. You know what I mean? Like they're getting their, so now the the inside the courtroom stuff is becoming even hard to go, okay, is this what you're hearing, or is this just kind of how you're feeling? And closer to the beginning of trial, I felt like we had quite a few people in the courtroom that were really like unbiased, and they were just coming out and like telling us like, this is what was said. I'm not really feeling that way anymore. So I think and not that I don't trust these people, because they're doing a great job, but it's like, it becomes really, really hard to decipher, like, is this your feeling, or is this what's actually happening in court? But this is how Gold designed it. So it makes it really tough. It makes it really, really tough. I don't know. It is what it is at this point. We have no other choice. In the interview, he said it was one of two places, and he wasn't sure that it was the old farm, generally until they started putting signs up, which I'm hearing was after the crime. Oh, that's possible too. I don't know that one. Hey, Criminal Network, look at you back in action. Autumn says, but the people not willing to hear anything other than he's guilty have been coming really hard and nasty. So I think it's also that reaction as well. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. So to anybody who's questioning like where I stand, I do not believe at this point that I'm not in the courtroom though. I don't believe the state has proved their case against Richard Allen. Therefore, I think it would be not guilty. You want my opinion of what the jury is going to say? This is all just absolute speculation on listening to what other people inside the courtroom are saying. I think it's going to be hung. I could be completely off base, could be completely wrong. I have no fucking idea what's going to happen, because there's a big thing that I've told you guys about from way before this case, especially when it comes to expert witnesses. Oh, hold on. What did RS say? 1511 Old Camden Road. Let's see where that is. Where does that take me? But expert witnesses can win or lose a case or have nothing to do with the case. Because if the jury doesn't like your expert or they don't understand your expert, then they're irrelevant. You think he parked way over? Why would he park over there? Hi, Charmaine. Why do you think he parked over there? I mean, it's interesting. I just don't know why he would have parked over there. This is like somebody's house. Yeah, the only opinions that matter are the 12 jurors. I have no idea. I have no idea what they're thinking. But this is 2017. This was a house in 2017. So you think it was just like an abandoned house by chance? I mean, I don't know. That's a weird place to park way back there. But maybe let's bump it up and see what it looks like now. Oh, now it's like a parking lot.
Loved ones taken too soon.
This is a shocking.
Shut it. So I mean, anybody who thinks that our opinion on here is like the end all be all to anything, I mean, we've got another thing coming, because our opinion just really does not matter. It just doesn't matter. We're not one of the 12 people that are sitting there, and there's no way that anybody can tell what the jury is thinking. You just can't. You know, I just don't think it matters. So we're on here to talk just because we like to talk to each other. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing. We like to just kind of stay up to date with what it is. I mean, you want my opinion, like I said, my opinion is the state has not proved their case. That's where I stand. The state hasn't proved their case. I know there's a lot of people who think that the defense has to prove their case, you know, and maybe there's a juror who agrees with you, but legally that's not the standard. The state has to prove their case, and I just don't think they did. All right, so let's go talk. So we talked about Betsy Blair. So that was kind of her big thing, was just coming in and just securing, like, hey, there was no car parked at the CPS building. Dan says that sucks because I think the dude probably did it and is going to walk. Here's the thing: is like, at the end of the day, no matter what side you fall on, you don't want the wrong person convicted, and you don't want the right person to walk. So I think we can all pretty much agree on that. If you want to know if I'm convinced if he's factually innocent, I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll ever, I mean, he'll be, if he's found not guilty, technically would be found, he would be like, you know, most people would assume he's innocent. Some people are just going to think he's guilty and that the state just fucked up. I think the state fucked up this investigation so bad that I don't know if they'll ever be able to find who did it. I don't know if they'll ever be able to find who did it. I mean, maybe they'll get lucky with this new technology on these 3 hairs they decided to save and see if anything comes from that. Other than that, I just feel like they screwed up so bad that it doesn't matter. But this is all my opinion. This is all my opinion. That's why, like, I'm not going to fight with other people about my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. Same with the Florida girls. Yep. Fuck it up so bad that nobody's ever held accountable, and you just have to live with the consequences of what these people did. You want more info? I don't think there's going to be any more info coming. I think they're done. There is no more. There's nothing. There's no more info. That's the biggest problem. Is we were told, I don't know how many times, that we were going to get, there was going to be, you know, these big bombshells that were going to happen. We were going to have so much more information, and we got nothing. The state delivered nothing new, nothing, except for this unspent round that is half the people consider junk science, half the people consider good science. Then you got another expert that pops in today and says, no, it doesn't agree with her findings. But then the jury goes ahead and asks him like 13 to 15 questions, which is kind of weird. That's a lot of questions from the jury. We're lied to. I don't think that, I don't even know how you could retrial at this point. I think he would probably try, but without anything different, I don't know how you'd get a different outcome. Maybe he's going to get what he wants. Maybe he'll get the guilty verdict. I don't see it. And I'll tell you, if it comes back guilty, I'll be like, holy shit, I can't believe they did it. I just don't see it. But I could see why some people think it, and I see why some people don't, which is why right now I'm stuck with I think it's going to be hung. I think it's going to be hung. All right, let's see. Okay, so then next we have Dr. Stuart Gracian, and he is the psychiatrist who went to Harvard Medical School. I think he would probably be a very good witness, and he's the one, I actually pulled up one of his lectures so we could listen to it, and it's his lectures on solitary confinement. But essentially, he comes up and he's talking about the effects of solitary confinement, essentially stating the UK, the United Nations thinks that if you hold somebody past 15 days in solitary confinement, it's considered torture. Obviously, our prison system is not the United Nations, and their standards are different, but their policies still go to 30 days. And we had a guy who was put into solitary confinement for 13 months. It's just nuts. So he did watch, he listened to some of the calls, he watched some of the videos. Let me see. No, I don't think I read this one. Gracian said he never visited Alan's cell, but saw the video provided by the defense. The torture, I already talked about that one. Rosie asked Gracian what causes delirium, which Rosie responded with, I don't think Rosie responded with that, but whatever. So many typos in the mainstream media shit. It's like crazy. The doctor said, sepsis, heart failure, lack of external stimulation. When Rosie asked if he noticed symptoms of delirium on Alan's phone calls to other people, he said absolutely yes. The doctor said delirium can also lead to developing false memories, such as starting to believe and picture things that did not happen. Your memory can shift over time. And it's like noting that this is perfectly consistent with Alan's symptoms. I feel like this is a good witness for the defense. I mean, obviously he's a defense witness, but I mean, this guy's been doing this for many, many years. Like I said, I'll pull up the interview. So wait, hold on. Where's the rest of his? Is it at the top? I hate how this article does this. Oh, here it is. Cross was the prosecuting attorney asked the doctor if he was aware of prison rules on safekeeping, punishment, and safety protocols. Doc says yes, but he wasn't an expert on those things. A juror asked the doc if psychotic behavior can go back to, if a person with psychotic behavior can go back to normal after the person is removed from the situation, which the doctor said yes, they can go back to normal. So that makes me think like the jury is going, okay, Richard Allen looks totally fine right now. What? So if he's like supposed to be psychotic, why isn't he psychotic? It says my stepson was in solitary confinement for 18 months. He never acted the way RA acted. I believe he truly was mentally ill. That was one of the things they did say was like, especially somebody with these, the pre-diagnosis. That's not the right word I'm looking for, but somebody who already has like such a history of mental illness. Another question from the jury was if the doc believes that someone described as normal could go into a psychotic episode after 6 months, which doc says absolutely. I've seen it happen. So that's kind of the big thing with the doctor. Now this one, you guys all know how I feel about firearm shit. I fucking hate it. I don't like anything to do with firearms. I hate all the stuff that goes along with it. It becomes so technical that I'm probably not the best person to listen to when it comes to this conversation, because I won't be able to explain much of what they talk about. So I can just tell you what was testified to and some of the overall forensic side of it, but this is beyond it's outside my scope. Let's just say that. It's outside my scope. Pre-existing. Thank you, Richard. Sometimes I just have a brain fart and I can't fucking yeah, you guys both got it. Predisposition. You got all the words. See? Hi, Kelt. Look at that. Kelt's back. Criminal Network's back. YouTube shadow banned a bunch of people and they were not able to chat in my chats. Oh, Deets. You came in at the wrong time. This is the one I don't want to explain. Okay, so next witness is Dr. Aaron Warren. There's too much reasonable doubt created now by a poor investigation by incompetent LE, dishonorable Judge Francis Gull, ineffective DA, who has no idea what actually happened to the girls, then torturing him in secret. I'm with you. The only thing that I think I would change on that is that from what I'm hearing is Nick is actually a very good attorney. But the scruples are probably lacking when he has no issue with some of the stuff that's happened in this case. But I'm hearing that he's a very good attorney. So, other than that, if it's outside my scope, I need better glass. Zing! Okay, so let's go through this testimony. RA's arrest was premature. Ellie has been backpedaling since. I'm right there with you on that too. I think Holman got just pissed off, and at the end of that, when he was like, "I think you did this, and I'm gonna find the proof," I think he thought he was going to, and then he was like, "Shit, there isn't any proof." Like, so they try to get him to confess, and now we're seeing the end result of the confessions being the majority of the evidence. And I'm sorry, I know that people will disagree and be like, "Oh, well, he confessed to it." The confessions are shit. They are garbage. They are garbage confessions. They're not confessions to a crime. And this whole stupid van thing, I don't even have words for this stupid van thing. Like, I literally prove we've talked about that fucking van forever. We've talked about it forever. It's not new information. It's not something only a killer would know. It is a theory that was discussed online. So if he went and talked about any other theory online, it'd be the same shit. It shouldn't hold any weight. Now, I don't know if the jury understands that, but I sure as fuck do. So that's where I go with, like, the jury could do, if they don't get that the van shit's not new, they're going to learn. They're going to learn as soon as this trial's over, because they're going to, they're all going to go start looking to see what was what. Now, literally, hi, Callie. Literally. But now the question is, did Walla learn that and then tell Gray that? Anyone know? Before anyone knew? Well, she was called out for leaking information to podcasters. Hey, Sniper. Hey. I'm glad you're here, because we're about to go through the firearm stuff, and so you'll be able to tell me if I'm doing it right. But I'm just going to read through the article anyway. But I'm glad to have Sniper here, because Sniper helps walk me through any of the kind of firearm stuff that I'm like, I'd love to have Sniper come up at some point too, but it's just time-wise, it really sucked. Okay, so Dr. Aaron Warren, the defense's next witness is Dr. Aaron Warren, who lives near Memphis, Tennessee, and owns a business dealing with crime scene reconstruction and worked with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations in the Firearm Identification Unit. Warren said he has testified on cases similar to this all across the country, working on both sides of the aisle. Warren said he reviewed the examiner's work from the Indiana State Police report and read over the deposition, noting he couldn't think of anything that was missing. Warren also said he looked at photos under a microscope, which he noted documentation is very important. Oh, Criminal Network, thank you. Look at that. Welcome, guys. My three sons, did anyone admit to seeing Abby and Libby? The only person who even remotely thought that they saw the girls was Betsy Blair. And all she could say was that she had seen two girls that resemble Abby and Libby. She could not say for sure it was them. Oh, thanks, Carmel. I appreciate that. Warren said using a microscope can shift the focus to see spots and layers of a bullet. Warren described the difference between cycled rounds and unfired rounds. This is going to be the simplest thing that I can tell you guys is I really don't understand how Oberg was able to compare these fired rounds from Richard Allen's gun to this unspent round found at the crime scene and say that it's a match. I don't understand it. Unfired rounds is cased out of the chamber. Cycled rounds, the ejection will clear the live round and would leave marks, even though it was never fired. Explained that a fired round is much more explosive. Warren said the cartridge found at the scene was a cycled and unfired round. The difference between a cycled round and a fired round is the difference in pressure and time. Both can be different even if it came from the same gun. Warren noted that he has not seen any of the evidence in the case, so he's not looked at the physical evidence. He's not looked at the physical evidence. He looked at Oberg's reports and her photos. So he didn't do any of his own testing, which I think is gonna be a detriment to the defense and probably good for the prosecutor. He didn't do any of his own testing. But it seems that through what we're hearing about the jury members is that there is a juror who is very familiar with firearms. So that should be good for the truth of the matter, right? So Warren said the cartridge found at the scene was cycled and unfired. The difference between a cycled round and unfired round is the difference in the pressure and the time. That's what I understand it to be, and I don't understand how you could compare it. I noted that he has not seen any of the evidence. He described three tools. So the ejector, documented well at high potential for a subclass. And then the extractor, there's no documentation from the extractor. The subclass marks are generally left. The barrel hood, even less research. Warren has never heard of being used as a tool until this case. Interesting. It strains credulity. I've been screaming about chamber pressure and the brass being superheated once fired. You absolutely cannot compare two completely unlike casings. It just isn't possible. I think a juror thinks they know more than the experts. You know, T-Bone, I actually think I would believe this more if it was a man at this point, simply because now that we have all these people who have come forward and said, hey, I was there at the exact same time, why would this van scare him, but not all the people on the fucking bridge and one of them with a camera? That doesn't make any sense to me. All those people don't scare him, but somebody driving by in the van does. I don't even. I think I might even believe it more if it ended up being the broken down van that was in the cemetery, because that's another van that we didn't even talk about the other day. I gotta get back to the. See, I'll skip over this stuff because it's not my wheelhouse. Okay, so Warren's testimony lasted 2 hours. Jesus. So when the prosecution is crossing him is when they were trying to get something about these marks. They were trying to ask him something about these marks. Tech immediately. I'm on it right now. Hold, please. Come on. Oh, shit. Okay, this is what we were talking about. What Donald was talking about. Okay, hold on. I will bring that up. So the prosecution was asking him something. Like I said, you're going to hear this probably better from somebody else, because I don't know that. I think it was about the extractor or the ejector. And what they were trying to do was trying to get him to say yes or no that she had done something, that Oberg had done something in particular. And he wasn't answering yes or no. He was trying to explain the importance of whatever. And so Luttrell was starting to get really pissed off and was like, I just want him to answer yes or no. And one of the jurors essentially kind of yelled out into the courtroom, let him answer the question. Stop trying to put it to a yes or a no. And I'm wondering if that actually might be the firearm person, because they're that person may have known that there was something to his answer. You know what I mean? So this just popped out right now. This is what Sleuthy sent me. Dietz is like, what is everybody so excited about? So a former FBI digital evidence instructor testified for the defense and says that she believes that wired headphones or some sort of auxiliary cord was plugged into Libby German's phone between 5:45 p.m. on February 13th to 10:32 p.m. that same day. What? So this goes to what Donald was talking about that he had heard from inside the courtroom. Oh, fuck. Where's Eye of Apophis? Because Eye of Apophis has just got to be losing their ever-loving fucking mind at this point. A former FBI digital digital evidence instructor. I have no idea how you tell that. All right, let's go to the blogs and see if anybody's updated it, because this is from Twitter. Let's go see if anybody's updated the blogs or anything yet. I want to come back to this because this is the questions that they have for the firearms examiner. So give me a second. I'll come back. I want to come back to that. Okay, so the next defense witness is a phone expert, and they requested that 2 previous witnesses who examined Libby's phone be able to sit in the courtroom for the rebuttal purposes. Oh, the state wanted their experts to be able to sit in there. Okay. I have Apophis. I have Apophis is the channel, who has been screaming forever that all of the stuff put on Libby's phone is all fake and it was put there after the fact. Okay. So they wanted their experts to sit in there for just for the rebuttal case. Makes sense. Eldridge, okay, the jury is back in the courtroom. Defense calls Stacy Eldridge. Eldridge is an expert in computer information management. She worked for the FBI. She worked for the FBI for nearly 10 years as a forensic examiner and later a senior examiner. She also worked as an instructor on digital evidence. Eldridge says she left the FBI and is now a licensed private detective in Nebraska. She tells the jury she used to have a license in Cellbrite, the software used to forensically examine cell phones. She says she is a consultant now and an adjunct at 2 universities. So she's a teacher. Eldridge tells the jury she has testified 3 times for the government and owns a business called Silicon Prairie Cyber Services. Eldridge tells the jury the defense is paying her $300 an hour to testify. She says she has worked 65 hours in examination for this case and 15 hours prepping for trial. Not unusual. People are like, oh my gosh, she's paid to do this, blah, blah, blah. Most experts on both sides are paid. I don't know why it even becomes an issue. It's always like that. Most experts on both sides are paid. It's just how it goes. Whether you think that even a state expert, they're still paid. They're just paid an hourly rate or a salary. They're still paid. They're all fucking paid. So Eldridge says she reviewed the October 2017 cell extraction. Okay, so that's the second cell extraction because the first one was closer to the crime, as well as the Cellbrite report and the report from Christopher Cecil. Okay, so that's the later one. She says she also reviewed Cecil's deposition. She tells the jury that ISP used Cellbrite, Axiom, and other forensic tools to examine Libby's phone. Eldridge says she primarily used Axiom and used 2 others. She explains to the jury that every tool can do the work a little differently or display like the information a little differently. We know this part too. She tells the jury that an extraction is getting all the data off of a phone so you can examine it later. Eldridge says everything she examined came from ISP. She says there are 3 level 6 extractions you can do. Each one of them pulls different amounts of info. She explains that logical extraction covers the basic user information, and that's what Libby's phone had in early 2017. Eldridge says ISP had the capacity in early 2017 to do a full extraction of Libby's phone, but only did it in October of that year. Okay, we knew this part. We know this from Cecil. So the very first one was the basic one. He goes back later and does the other one. He doesn't. I think that's actually Bunner that does it. Don't quote me on who that is, on who it was, but I think it was Bunner. She tells the jury this caused issues and caused the loss of specific piece of data called the current power log. She tells the jury that the log only stays saved in between a phone being turned all the way off and on. So they were asking Cecil, like, you know that you destroyed information on the phone by doing it the way you did it? And he said yes, he did. He did think that. He knows that information does get destroyed. If the jury is hung, does he get out of jail? If the prosecutor is going to retry the case, then he goes back to jail. Her maiden name is like Holguin, Holguin, Indiana girl, Holguin, Holguin. I don't know how you say it, but that's what her maiden name is. Side note. So if the prosecution decides to not retry him after a hung jury, or it wants to wait some time to do it, they can. And then he could go home, and then they could decide to retry him later, which would be really bad on their part. But okay, Eldridge says the log can also say if the phone went into airplane mode. She said her priority was figuring out what was going on with the phone at 4:34 a.m. on February 14th to make the phone receive multiple text messages. Okay, so I just want to go back here. The log can also say if the phone was in airplane mode. Is she talking about this log that was potentially destroyed? I don't know if that matters then. So like, is she just saying it could have shown if the phone was in airplane mode? Thank you, Precocent. Okay, Judge Gull calls for a sidebar after the prosecution says they had not examined an exhibit showing Eldridge's report on Libby's phone's database. First, they say they have not examined the exhibit, then say they have no objection. Okay, all right. Eldridge leaves the witness stand and goes to a screen showing the report. She explains many of the columns and rows. The reporter describes the exhibit as similar to an Excel spreadsheet. Eldridge says she generally agrees with the state expert's examination of the timeline of Libby's phone, but there are things that she does not agree with. She says she does not agree with some of the times, some of the texts, calls, and FaceTimes that were delivered between the 13th and the 14th. She doesn't agree with the times? Okay. She tells the jury there were times on the 13th and 14th that the phone was not connected to a cell tower. She says the last time it connected on the 13th was at 5:45 p.m. I think that's pretty consistent with what we understood, and reconnected at 4:33 a.m. on the 14th. She tells the jury she reviewed the cell phone pings from AT&T. She shows AT&T historical precision location logs. The state objects and points out that Eldridge does not have training on the network capability in Carroll County. They say the log isn't complete and Eldridge is not qualified. All right, let's see if anybody has any more than that, because that's all that one has. Let's see if they have more. Holy smokes. Let's see if WTHR has more. Doesn't look like it. All right, let me take to the Twitters. Let's check out Max, see if Max has anything. Let's see what they have. Betsy Blair, psychiatrist. I hate articles. They just have so many pop-ups. The Dr. Warren. Dr. Warren. And that's all they have on that one. Let's see. For me, Lynette? No, I have not attended trial. I do have a few friends that have gone into court on various days, not all, not every day. And when they are in court, they typically will come up and tell us what happens in court when they're done. But no, I was supposed to be there this week and canceled my trip. Sniper says, when I get home every day, I clear and save both my carry and my backup, so my chambered round ends up with numerous. Yeah, so you had told me this before too, Sniper, because I was like, how does this happen? And then my husband said the same thing. I was like, eh. I personally couldn't. I'm at the point. I'm telling you right now, if I was sitting on this jury just from what I know, and I'm not in the courtroom, I want to make sure everybody understands I'm not in the courtroom. I don't have the feelings that other people have. Like I can't read people's faces. I can't hear the tone in people's voices, like when they're asking certain things or they're answering certain things. Those things matter. We're getting like a documented, version of these expert witnesses. But what I'm telling you guys is if the person is not relatable, is not understandable, the jury isn't listening, isn't going to give a shit what they have to say anyway. Not all the jury is. So there's just so many factors that from me on the outside, I can't tell you. But just based on basic information, if I'm sitting on that jury, I'm a not guilty. State has not proven their case. That's the bottom line for me. I waited for the state to prove their case. They didn't prove it. I'm just checking to see if any other news sources have any updates from the afternoon. And then if not, we'll have to just wait on that and we'll go back because I want to talk about the questions that the jury had for the firearms expert. And then we also have the video of Dr. Stuart Gracian. So just kind of playing it by ear right now. I'm trying to see if there's any more updates on this because I think this is important. Let's see. Let's look at Kyra's. See if she has anything else. Kyla's. Dumb. Too many Kyras and Kylas and. If you think that getting justice for Abby and Libby is a conspiracy, then yes, I am a conspiracy theorist. Absolutely. Have at it. I don't see anything. The latest update I see on any of this has to do with that one about being plugged in, which is not in the news articles. So Sleuthy, do we have the list, the spreadsheet of the times of the phone? Do you have that? Do you know what I'm talking about? When remember originally there was what time, maybe one of you guys will just happen to remember this. What time did the state say that the phone had either been turned off or was no longer in the area? After what time was that? That night, at night. If you guys, do you remember at night? There was the last one that Boucher had sent and said this was the last one. This was the last time they got the phone to the AT&T ping or whatever. There was something that they said that at this point we feel like the phone has either been turned off or taken out of the area. It was now is nighttime. Was it the 541? Was it 10:30? It was 5 something. Sounds right. Something 10. See, where am I getting the 10 o'clock from then? Hey, Rebecca. Well, you missed the morning witnesses, and now we're into an afternoon witness who is talking about that that Libby's phone was plugged in. Here, I'll just pull it up so you can just read it. Plugged into some type of auxiliary cord or wired headphones from 5:45 p.m. to 10:32. There was something about in the 10 o'clock hour. Fuck, why my memory is not working. There's something that happened in the 10 o'clock hour that was reported by like Cecil or Bunner. And he says, this might not be the only thing that EOA is right about. They have? Okay, let me go back over. Mm-hmm. 10:32 p.m. Like, who testified to that before today? Cecil testified the phone gradually powered down throughout the night and died at 10:32 p.m. Then woke with a spike at 4:33. Yeah, it was Cecil. So this 10:32 time frame is like really reminding me of whatever that testimony was, and I can't pinpoint the testimony, so I'm trying. Okay, let me see. Did we read? I thought we read all this already. Ahaha, there it is. It is Cecil. Gosh, Luthi, thank you. Thank you guys all in chat for who was memory is better than mine. Okay, so this was on the transcripts that we have from Cecil. He said, so this is from the 3-day hearing, July 30th, 31, August 1st. So the last line on February 13th, 2017 at 10:32, I wrote, last recorded data received by iPhone. The iPhone battery was likely depleted. 10:32. It was 10:32. Which we know it wasn't depleted. It wasn't dead because it comes back on at 4:33, so we know it's not dead. So we know his opinion is wrong anyway. Thank you, Cleveland Rocks. I'm trying to figure out what they added because so far this is all stuff we read. Oh, hold on. So the phone was not using date in between those times. It's like they added something in the middle of the article. Hold on. The state objects and points out that Eldridge does not have the training on that. We know that one. Defense attorney Auger says the page admitted into evidence is the one pertinent to the investigation, but there are several hundred more. Gould admits the exhibit over the state's objection. Eldridge says Libby's phone last connection time was at 4:33 a.m. and before that 5:45 p.m. on the 13th. She says the phone was not using data in between those times. So Cecil's report said there were messages coming through during that time frame. Eldridge says there is evidence that the phone did not have messages delivered in between those times. Eldridge says that some of those messages did have timestamps in between the two times, but they weren't delivered. She says voicemails between the two times were not delivered until February 17th. Ajay asked Eldridge to explain what a ping is. She said it is a technical way to have one device see if another device is there. She says AT&T is repeatedly trying to ping Libby's phone after 5:44 p.m. on February 13th, but it is not successful until 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. Okay, that's going to be a problem if Wish is just going to literally put new shit in the middle of their article. Like we left, there was a... Eldridge says she doesn't know why the phone did not ping in that time frame, even though it was under Abby's back and was stationary. She says, I can only conclude something external happened to the phone, that it could have been moved, blocked by metal, or have been blocked from the tower. Eldridge is asked about the phone's health data. She says she agrees with what Cecil found about the data on the steps. She says the iPhones will not log steps if you are in a car or if the phone is powered off. Eldridge says she knows that at 5:45 and 44 seconds on February 13th to 10:32 p.m. that night that the phone had wired headphones plugged in. She demonstrates headphones being plugged into an iPhone 6S. She says it could also have been an auxiliary cord for a car that was plugged into the phone. I cannot think of any explanation that does not involve humans, she tells the jury. Uh-oh. I mean... Well, wait, it's not like it's found with headphones. The phone doesn't have headphones when it's found. Fair Justice, thank you for the super chat. I think what she was trying to say up above, which this is going to be very interesting information when we start to hear from people inside the courtroom. Because from my understanding, what she's trying to say up here about that is that they destroyed this log by the way that Cecil and Bunner did these extractions, that it caused a loss of the specific piece of data called the current power log. So she says that the log only stays saved in between a phone being turned all the way off and on. So by the way that they were doing it, this information is destroyed. And this is just what I'm gathering from these articles. So please, like, that's why I'm saying this is going to be the most interesting to probably hear about later too, because that log could also say if the phone was put into airplane mode. But if it's destroyed, then is she saying that we can't tell? Maybe it could have been. We don't know because that data's gone. That's what I'm interpreting from these articles, but I don't know for sure. From my understanding, Kelsey's been there a lot, but I've not ever heard that Cody's been in the courtroom. I've never heard that Cody's been there at all. It rewrites the old log entry and not the whole log. So would it just basically say then, like, you wouldn't be able to tell if somebody actually put it in airplane mode? I don't know if they're out of court yet. It's only 5 o'clock there. So yesterday they got out about now, but they got out a little early. So about the headphones, the auxiliary cord, that's just eclipsed all the anything regarding incoming, outgoing pings, etc., right? Well, from my understanding, like I said, this is just my interpretation of this information from reading what's being put out there. So you guys have to take it for that. from my understanding, what she's saying is that the phone was not, there was no pinging to this tower. No pinging to this tower, but the phone was still having this type of activity where it's plugged in to something, whether it be headphones, which seems to be her first choice based on how we're hearing it come out of the courtroom, or some type of auxiliary cord. All right, let's update it and see if there's anything. Nope. But she said, like, whatever this data is, she cannot figure out a way for this data to happen without somebody actually touching the phone. So phone put in airplane mode or turned off, then stops the health data, right? I mean, so that's kind of the thing. Stops pinging in the area. 10:32 p.m. is when, it's just interesting that she has this data here too. At 10:32 p.m., that something happens with the phone, right? Cecil saying agrees something happened with the phone at 10:32. Correct, Andy. Yeah, there's nothing plugged into the phone at the time. Because whatever was plugged into the phone, according to her, was unplugged at 10:32 p.m., which is when Cecil wants to say the phone died. Well, we know he's not right because the phone doesn't die. Or it does die, and I don't, and it's being this auxiliary cord. I don't know. No, that doesn't make sense. No, never mind. Erase that. Rewind. Is that why they had the FBI leave? Do you think they had the killers in their crosshairs? Where are all the tentacles, Mr. Carter? I would love for somebody to ask Carter that. Do you think he'll do any interviews when this is over and say, well, these were all... I've always thought the tentacles, I think his tentacles means the different agencies, that they had so many different agencies working on the case. Possible. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking she's implying. Or, see, Sleuthy, that's where I was going with it, but then I'm like, wait, no, because it comes back on. So is it being fucking charged? No, I don't want to go there. And I'm trying to wrap my mind around it right now. Like, so does that mean we need our own phone expert? Auxiliary charger. That's what I'm wondering. So does it get charged and then it's off? It's turned off and then it's turned back. It's physically turned back on. We really do need our own phone expert. It's weird how they called the search off at 2 a.m. and the phone has action again at 4:30. Right. So, Dean, this is a good point too. They said that in the opening statements, the defense says something about the 4:30 time frame having to do with physical hands. So she just not gotten there in her testimony yet because we haven't heard that. We're hearing physical hands from 5:44 to 10:32. Libby did plug the phone in earlier to call her dad, according to it was Becky's testimony. Yeah. Hey, Carmel, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. Wouldn't it log a charge event rather than just a plugin? That's what I was thinking when I very first said that out loud, and I was like, wait, nope, it's an. But if it's auxiliary, they didn't have an actual charger, and they're just using like the auxiliary cord. I don't know. That's why I said I need somebody who knows more about that than I do. Always leaves me with more questions than answers, and it's always been that way. Really thought that we were going to have more answers after the trial. I feel like we're left with a lot of questions. Not if the power log is damaged. Okay, hold on. I'm seeing a lot of Google results confirming my theory that water in the port can cause headphone mode to go on. All right, we'll have to research some of that then. Seeing a lot of Google results confirming that the water in the port can cause the headphone mode to go on. I still don't understand. I can't wrap my mind around this water situation simply because of the time difference in the, like, how does that just not have any issue with the water until almost 3 hours later? That's bothered me too. I don't know. Okay, so we have an update here. Let's see. Okay, Eldridge says she doesn't know why the phone did not ping in that time frame, even though it was under Abby's back and was stationary. She says, I can only conclude something external happened to the phone, that it could have been moved, blocked by metal, or have been blocked from the tower. We read that already. About the phone tells she agreed with Cecil. Eldridge says she knows that from 5:45 to 10:32, the phone had the wired headphones. We read that. Right before the headphones were plugged in, there was an incoming call. Okay, right before the headphones were plugged in, there was an incoming call. She says the headphones would have stopped that call. Okay, now Nick is doing cross. He asks her about her training on cell phone extraction. She says this is the first time she has testified about cell phone extraction other than in July. She tells the jury that she got a quote-unquote rough location on where the bodies were found and where the phone was found. She says she did not go to the crime scene. Hey, Miss K. Eldridge says she did not review every bit of info gathered by Cecil and focused most on the health data. She says she did review the bridge guy video and agreed with the video's timestamp and GPS location. She says she did not examine it enough to know the GPS location changed 4 seconds into the video. She explains that there has to be up and down movement to track motion by the phone, but still says the phone would not have logged it if it were in a car. She says she did not find evidence that the phone had been turned off. Okay, there we go. She says the phone was in and out of service before 5:45 on February 13th. She says it could be an explanation that Libby's phone was just hopping in and out of service and got service at 4:33 on February 14th. So it could just be there from 5:45 to 4:33 with no service. McClellan asked Eldridge if the phone would have had to be moved to plug in headphones. He asked if it could have registered it in the health data. Eldridge says that could be the case, but she did not test that. She says there's also could be a signal blocker, like metal in a building. Okay, on redirect, she says she reviewed the most important information in the number of hours she had. Ajay asked her if the FBI ever did a drive study, which is a study that includes driving around to see what signal you get in what places. Ajay asked if the FBI knew how to do this in 2017, and Eldridge answers theoretically. There's I right there. Once SIM card is replaced and texts would start rolling in. Okay. I don't know, you guys. I think that's quite interesting. So does she come out essentially and say that it could be from something else? She doesn't think so, even on cross-examination. I'm like trying to comprehend all this at the same time I'm like talking to you guys about it. So I'm trying to walk it through, because this is obviously information that's coming in right now. So bear with me as I'm like trying to figure out. So if you take the SIM card out, though, so let's go with that theory real quick. If you take the SIM card out, is the phone is still going to be collecting the data if something is plugged into it? I'm also just trying to figure out. Here, let me pull that up real quick. Sleuthie, can you send me that you just put in the chat? Can you just send it? I don't have my YouTube open to grab the link. Thank you. Okay, let's take a look at Stacy. And we'll wait for a couple more updates. I'm just trying to understand if it's plugged in and you remove the SIM card, wouldn't removing the SIM card at some point register on the actual phone, like the actual hard phone data? Yeah, exactly. And that's my question too. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look. So this is Stacy. I'll snag her picture real quick because we're going to need it. We need it for the presentation. Okay, you guys cannot read that because I can barely read that on my full screen. So let's blow this bad boy up. So this is Stacy Eldridge. Testifies an expert in South Carolina. She provides services anywhere in the United States, mobile forensics, iPhone and Android. She does metadata, internet history, deleted files. She's a current licensed private detective in Nebraska. She's licensed plainclothes detective, authorized to work at the direction of other detective agencies. Provides expert witness testimony. She reviews written reports, digital reports, derivative evidence, and the adherence to digital forensic policies and procedures. Provides expert opinions on findings. So, I mean, she worked with the FBI for 10 years. She's been in practice for 21 years total. She has a Master of Science and a Bachelor of Science from Bellevue. Let's see what this is. Tampering of key evidence. Oh, Stacy Eldridge. Okay. 4 former FBI experts announced their conclusions of a tampering of key evidence in a case U.S. versus Rainier. The experts have combined nearly 200 years. The experts issued reports concluding with scientific certainty that photos and metadata used to convict the defendant of the child porn charges were heavily tampered with, and some of the tampering occurred while in custody of the FBI. Oh, son of a biscuit-eating bulldog. Jesus criminy. So Stacey Eldridge, in my 10 years of experience in the FBI and 20 years of digital forensic experience, I have never seen anybody go to such great lengths to manipulate evidence. I think you need to get in touch with Stacey. Jeez. All right, let's go. Let me go back over here to you guys. See what you guys are saying. Evidently, you can edit your own health app data. Bushi, thanks for joining. Removing the SIM or switching would change the general phone settings ID numbers, correct? Well, that's one thing. You can't technically swap out the entire SIM for a new SIM without it registering that it's got a different SIM in it, right? Or does this go back to the whole weird, the phone was factory reset like a week beforehand? I don't know. There's so much information here that I feel like we need to wrap our mind around. Just like there's so much. No, not meaning reset. Okay. Beth says, where they crossed the creek water could have gone into the headphone port. It could have got into the SIM card. I had a phone that got water in the headphone port. It thought the headphone was plugged in. Okay, so I don't disagree with this. My biggest question, if I was going to try to figure out if this is what happened, is how long did it take after the phone got wet for it to register that? Because that's my biggest issue with the phone getting wet and then all of this stuff happening hours later. So if the phone doesn't move after 2:32, we're going with the state's theory, that means the phone is already across the creek by 2:32 p.m., right? But it lasts until 5:44, or according to her, when it's plugged in at what? Too many times now. Too many times. 5:45. From 5:45 p.m. to 10:32. So from 2:32 p.m. to 5:45 p.m., if the phone is wet, why is it not registering any of this shit? Why is it not acting like it's wet? Like all the things that we think happen when it's wet at 5:45, why didn't it happen for almost 3 hours? That's my biggest issue with it. Yours took a half a day to start acting up. Interesting, okay. Hey, TNT, Cecil Googles his answer on the break for his recall by the defense. No fucking way. I can't tell if you're joking. I'm a camper. When rain gets in my plug, it shuts my phone down. I have an Android, and then I get pleasantly surprised when my phone comes back on. I feel overwhelmed. Chelsea, I know. All right, let's see if there's anything else here. Any other update from Wishy Wishy? The Wishy Washies. Can't believe the jury's going to have questions for her for some explanation on some of this. Here we go. Okay. Eldridge tells the jury, this is still on redirect, that in order to plug an auxiliary cable in, the phone would have to be moved. She says the phone would not have had to log movement if it was powered off. After 4:33? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. McClellan starts cross-exam, so he's on recross. Eldridge says that it takes a little bit of movement for a phone to start logging movements. The jury asked the following questions. Did you ever write your own timeline? Eldridge says no, she didn't have enough time to write her timeline. Okay. Number 2 is, could any of this be related to Libby's iPad? Eldridge says no, they were not synced. That's a good question. 3, would water impact the movement? Here we go. We were just talking about this. Eldridge says no, the water would not impact the port. 4, can you tell if the phone was on silent or vibrate? She says no, cannot tell. Could you review Alan's historical location timeline if he was using a Ting phone? She said she could if it was available. Interesting. Are there other apps that measure movement? She says yes, but did not look to see if Libby had them. Court is on break. Or did you go? Were you in court today? Did you make it in? Did everybody make it in? TNT? Okay, so we still have, they're not updated for any of the afternoon stuff. If court is in recess, this is at 3:45 p.m. So there's still more that happens after Eldridge's testimony that is not on here yet. Let's see. Yeah, this is a lot of technical data with you got the firearms person and then you've got the tech person. I'm just looking at WTHR to see if there's any anything different in here. Yeah, that's what, Beth. Yeah, I'm gonna wait and get some more clarification on people that are actually inside the courtroom, because for me, this is there's some things in here that just aren't consistent with. I mean, like the time is even wrong. So I'm just wondering if there's a reporting issue. So I think that some of this we have to kind of just play it by ear on what is actually said. We saw this yesterday with the with Brittany Zapata's testimony. Penn says, I'm going to go dig out my 6S. Go see what happens. Go see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm like, there's just some things that don't make sense, that they're not adding up in the reporting. All right, so I'll read through what WTHR had to say and see if it makes any more sense than Wish, because you guys know Wish is always wishy-washy. Okay, so we'll just read straight through it, so it's not even going to be broken up. So she works as a private detective, 65 hours, 15 hours prepare for testimony, examine the data extracted from Libby's cell phone. She had access to the full file extracted in October of 2017. That is the second one, FYI, as well as reports and depositions on other data pools. Eldridge says she was looking into stuff the user cannot touch or control. Eldridge said you need special forensic software to get through the data. She said she used a program called Celebrite and another called Axiom. She explained that after extracting the data from a phone, you should make a copy for examination. Otherwise, you change the phone itself. The software allows different types and levels of data to be extracted. She said the best practice is to get full file systems first. She said in 2017, ISP did a basic user extraction at first, but could have pulled more. So Eldridge said in October 2017, they came back to do the full extraction. She said this did cause issues because the files dropped off as the phone got older. Said she was able to pull information from the health app on Libby's phone and the Knowledge C database. Defense attorney Ajay pulled some of the data that Eldridge extracted on a TV screen. The display showed where Eldridge's data agreed with the analysis by state's witness Chris Cecil. Eldridge said her data disagrees with Cecil's timeline for when messages, calls, and voicemails were delivered the night of February 13th into the morning of February 14th. According to Eldridge, Libby's phone lost contact with the cell phone tower at 5:45 p.m. Hey, Julie, hold on one second. On February 13th, and then reconnected at 4:33. Over objections by the state, the information about pings to Libby's cell phone is shared with the jurors. All right, so Julie's here. Let's bring her up because she was in court today, so we'll get more. Even Lana's like, this is just not. Hi. Here, let me get rid of this.
Hi. Hey, I just wanted to show you real quick. So Ted's here cooking. I want to give you a, is it FOMO? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you could put me big so people can see what he's making. I'm gonna kind of.
Yes.
Okay, so these are grandma's potatoes. This is this beautiful filet mignon that he's gonna cook on the grill. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh my God.
He's got mushrooms cooking here. We're gonna add a little more. We're gonna do roasted carrots here, and then he's got some blueberry muffins that he's gonna be doing. And we also have this amazing salad. Let's see. Well, you can kind of see the salad inside there.
I'm so jealous, you guys. I was supposed to be here for this
Oh my gosh.
dinner. This is why she
I'm
keeps,
sorry.
she
I'm
keeps
not
doing this on
No,
purpose, you guys.
I'm just very, I'm very lucky that I have a husband like this. I just wanted to.
You are very
He came
lucky
all the
that
way.
you have Ted.
Yes, he came all the way over here. We just got back. We had to go to the grocery store, so sorry about the delay.
No, you're fine. We
But
were digging in. We're digging in. We were digging into the news articles and stuff. So if you have time and dinner's not ready yet.
No, dinner's not. It's not going to be ready for a little bit. And let me put my little thingy up here. Oh, okay, I got to put it.
All right, let me come back over here. I'm so jealous.
Ted will cook for you one day, okay? Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. At first, a lot of us were a little worried. Now, do you guys mind if I have a glass of wine?
Nobody's gonna care if you have a glass of wine.
Okay, I'm on vacation.
Do you mind starting from Eldridge though? Because we're knee deep in Eldridge right now. So do you mind starting? I know it's a little bit ass backwards. If we could, but we're right in the middle of trying to figure out her testimony. Because the reporting is kind of wonky and we're not really clear on exactly.
Which one is the Eldridge chick? God, I swear I'm losing my mind. What?
So that's the state's expert on the cell phone stuff, Stacey Eldridge.
Was
she the last one to testify today?
Yeah. Well, no. So after Eldridge was Christopher Cecil and then Bunner. That's what saved them. The two that they brought in. Oh my gosh! If you have any,
so we haven't heard anything about Cecil and Bunner yet. We were knee deep in Eldridge, going through that.
Oh yeah, it was long, guys. Okay, just a second. I'm going to do this. Oh Lord, I mean,
so if you could start later in the day, and then we could go back to the beginning of the day, just because that's where we're at right now, anyway.
Okay. Let me. Why do I always have to have a pen in my hand?
So they called. So the defense called Cecil and Bunner themselves.
Correct. Yes, and thank God they did, because that saved them on Eldridge.
Oh, Eldridge
mean,
was not a good witness.
She was good, but like they were crushing her. They were crushing some things about her expertise. But wait till you find out how they did this. Hey Ted, can you bring me a pen? Sorry, it's like I'm at home and I'm yelling on your live. I apologize. I should
I don't care.
straighten
My
up.
husband.
Oh,
I'll yell
I
at my
found one.
husband next time he comes in. I'll
Okay.
yell at him too. I'm gonna
Okay,
grab a
so-
drink, so you start. I'm gonna grab a soda.
Okay. Yes. Please do it. Okay. Da, 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 da. Yeah, those jury questions were crazy. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have it. We haven't got to jury questions yet because last update from mainstream media was just on. They were on cross and redirect, so we haven't gotten anything of that. But we're pretty confused on the testimony. So if you want to just walk us through Eldridge testimony,
Okay.
we can start there.
Okay. I personally thought that she did a good job holding her own. Okay, let me do okay, so Stacy Eldridge, and it was Auger that was doing the direct on her.
Wait, can I say one thing?
Yeah. Okay,
Can I say
Chop wants to
one-
say something.
I'm sorry, I want to say one thing. You guys, Nick McLeland does not know how to pronounce Auger.
Oh, what'd he say? Auger?
He keeps saying he keeps saying it wrong every time, and I'm like dying.
Stuttering.
Teresa laughing. Teresa, are you muted?
No,
Okay.
It was hilarious. Okay, that's all I want to say.
No, you're good. So basically, you guys know about Eldridge. She has the BS in computer information
yeah,
management.
we know her history. You don't have to tell us
Internet-
anything.
Okay. And so you know all the history. Okay. Let me get back here.
I know. I'm like, Julie, get to this part because this
Yeah.
is what we want to know.
First
Sorry.
job, blah. I'm just going through because it's really important to note, if you haven't told your viewers, that she did work for the FBI. And so she last worked for them in 2009. But I want you to keep in mind that she teaches about this knowledge sea now at universities. This is what she does. So you have to keep that in mind because Nick is going to come at her trying to discredit her over and over and over. Okay, so I'm going to get past this. Okay, so basically, Auger says, do local law enforcement officers, do they send you phones to be extracted? She says, yes.
Hold on. There's a dog.
Oh, this is Gingy. Ginger, come here, Gingy. Ted brought Ginger with. He's like, I can't leave Ginger. Come here, buddy.
Hi, Ginge.
Come here, Gingy. Look. Wait, you're on TV.
Sorry, guys. I love animals, so I gotta see. I gotta see the dog.
Gingy,
She's
come
got her
here,
toy.
Hi. Yes. I'm sorry. Gingy. Ted brought Ginger. He said he couldn't leave her at home.
Yeah,
She doesn't
no.
shed, so hopefully they don't care. And she's such a good baby.
I doubt they would.
Yes, she's such a good baby.
Sorry, Shibby.
Okay, so.
Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
Oh no, you're fine. Okay, so basically, they said, how do local law enforcement officers? Do they send you phones to extract? She said, yeah. Local agencies, basically, and they contract with others, and then they end up contacting. And she owns her own business. I don't know if you guys know that. Silicon Cyber Security LLC. Were you contacted by the defense? Yes. By who? You, meaning Auger. It says, so is that how you earn your living? Now, here's another money situation. How much do you charge an hour? I charge $400 an hour, but I charge $300 for this case. So what's customary? She said somewhere in the middle. There's a reason they're doing that. For the record, you said. So basically, how much time did you take, to prepare for this? She said there was, she had 65 hours of reviewing the phone data and going through all that, and then another 15 hours prep time for the testimony. So she said, I viewed the cell phone extraction from Libby's phone. Actually, there was a couple, extractions that were viewed. And I think that was what Cecil did, right? And you're good at, kind of following up some things that I'm not sure about, Teresa. So is it 2017? Was that an extraction by Brian Bunner? Yes. this. Did you look at all the other reports with this? Yes, I looked at all the written reports of Cecil and Bunner and their Celebrite, the appendices, all the written reports, the deposition, all that stuff. Okay, so she's said she's taken all that into consideration. So you looked at information stored on the phone? Yes. So those would be pictures, videos, texts, phone calls, the apps, social media, and all the information, user information. So then the iPhone operation system, iOS, that makes the phone work, and it has to. So basically, there's stuff that you can't see on your phone that logs and tracks all your information. And so, like, you can't get into it, you can't see it, but that's necessary for the phone to do these things, to update it and make it work. So she says, generally, when you overview, when you conduct an analysis, is there, is there, I'm sorry, I can't read that. Oh, so is there more than just more than, I thought I said computer. You do more than computer. I'm sorry, I can't read my writing. Okay, she said her exam, is it more than just the basic text? She goes, my exam is more than text, message, and getting under she goes, basically what I do is I get under the hood. So things that you cannot see, you can't access, and it takes like kind of experts like her, Christopher Cecil, Bunner, those people. And she says what's there is so voluminous. There's so many files and records, and the only way to get that stuff organized and accurate is to put it into her forensic software. She says, so what forensic software did you use to view this data from Libby's phone? She says, well, the many ISP use Cellbrite to get the information and review it. But she says she particularly uses Axiom. She says, and there's like this, I think she said OneLeague and other software systems. She said her primary tool that she uses is Axiom. And then she reviews the Celebrite information from Bunner and from Christopher, or Christopher Cecil.
Yeah.
So why do we have Celebrite and Axiom? Like, why are there different tools? She goes, well, every tool has a different aspect. You already guys know that. You've heard that before.
Right.
So, so the extraction process where you, I haven't even looked over my notes. How do you get the data and save the information? She says we put it on a hard drive and we make a copy of all that data. So you guys know that. So why is it important to do it that way? Because if I get a phone, so basically you get the phone when it's off, and then you extract, like if you don't have it on, you get it when it's off, because every time you turn it on, and every so many days, like 28 days that you wait, it loses data. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get data out of it before you even turn it on. Like, so you want to try to do that extraction, because every time it does. So you didn't perform the extraction? She said no, ISP did. So what she did was, it sounds to me like she reviewed all of Cecil and Bunner's information. So she went through the entire thing and she looked at the data, and then she was able to further extract something in Libby's phone. Oh my God. We'll tell you later. I'm sure you already heard it. But extract something from there that you're going to find out later, that in Cecil's testimony, he just said, well, I didn't go that far. Okay.
Oh, what?
I didn't go that far because there's all these numbers. And guess what? He didn't know what it meant. And guess what? I'm kind of giving you a sneak preview. Either did Bunner. And I would say those two men are the most respectful, good, honest type people that as far as police officers that I have seen testify, knowledgeable, kind, courteous, and honest, and very respectful. I can't say enough about those two guys. So she says, so did ISP use Celebrite? Yes. So ISP used Celebrite. She said, it was popular. Yeah, it was used all over the world. So Celebrite's popular. It was used all over the world.
Yeah, Axiom, Celebrite, they're very big tools that, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so she says, so are there different types of extraction? She said, yeah, can you explain? So yeah, there's 3 types. There's full file. So the full file is the best extraction. That's what you want. And that's what you get when you plug it in, you haven't turned it on, and you do this full file extraction. And then there's the advanced logical. And then there's the logical. The logical is the most basic. And from, there's a lady that's staying over here. She takes notes for Ashley Banfield and does like podcaster. She's come for dinner. She was showing her notes are impeccable. Like she writes like it's calligraphy. I mean, I don't know. I said, how do you write that fast? But anyhow, she showed me some notes of days that I wasn't able to be here, and she goes, "Do you know that when Cecil did the extraction, he did logical, like he did the basic.
Yes.
He did the basic." So Auger says, so the best practice is the full file to get out off the phone first, right? She says, yes.
I think you're talking about Bunner, because Bunner did the ones from 2017.
Oh, okay, 2017. Whoever did it, 2017. So
Yeah.
Auger says, oh yes, but I'm sorry, that was my next note right there. It says, so February 15, 2017, Bunner did the logical. Yes. So it's the text message, all these like basic things.
Mm-hmm.
It says that Auger said, well, so the Celebrite was that already out there in 2017 to extract full file system? Yes. From the 6S 2016. She goes, yes, using the iOS 10.2. She says, yes, the only exception to being able to do a full file extraction would be if this phone was hooked up to an iTunes and and the iTunes was backed up to a computer. Somehow that interferes with it. So the criminals, if you're listening, you're going to know how to do that now. I don't know if that works anymore, but that's the only exception. So she says, so a full file was first. When was this first done? It was done October 27th, 2017. Yes. Did this delay or cause issues? Because she goes, yes, because of the delay in February, the system then I guess there was February, September, and October, you keep losing data. So you lose data every 28 to 30 days. You lose data whenever it's shut off and turned on, or the battery is low. So you'll never know missing information. You'll never be able to get that back. So were there specific pieces of data that they lost? She says, yeah, they're like the power log on and off, the previous stuff, all the stuff was wiped. She goes, I didn't have any idea what was lost, and they wouldn't either. Including like, if it's put in airplane mode, even that, like those simple little things are lost, plus data that you can't get back. So there was some data there, some from, I have 2017. October 2017. She says, okay, so you have a process to explain your process of extracting from the phone. Okay, so she says, first you want to see what's going on in the Apple Health, because that was one of the areas that they really looked at, like the steps, the elevation, that whole thing. And then you look at what was happening on the specific to Libby's phone, what was happening at 4:33 a.m. on the 14th. And then so that's where I started. And then she said, did you download Knowledge C database? Yeah. I don't know why I have did you, because she did download not a Knowledge C database, because what they were looking for is these times, this 5:44 time where it went off, and then 4:33 when it started accepting messages. So we're slowly getting to where what they're trying to get at. Auger was getting ready to ask something about the Apple Health data, and she goes, just a second, let me go to this first real quick. The Knowledge C database. So what are you doing? She goes, well, we're configuring the battery percent, the apps, how long, these apps are open, the Snapchat, the email, what's going on in the phone, what's it doing, what's happening to it. So straight from extraction, you made a report, or she made a report. She says, yes, you can get reports straight from that. And she said, okay, we're going to admit exhibit TTT. And this is the Knowledge C database. And I do believe that it was the Knowledge C that I think that came off of either Bunner or Cecil's report. Yeah, she says, okay, it says, so you examined Cecil's timeline. Yes, okay, I just answered my question. It was previously admitted, so they admitted the exhibit. So you reviewed Cecil's report from August, I believe she said August 27th of 2017, because I saw I got August 27th, I'm pretty sure that was 2017, right? Because that's when they did it. So they pull up a big screen, the computer screen that's in the $1 million screen, whatever, the $77,000 screen or whatever it is. So they pull it
The
up
big, the big podium and the new screen.
yeah, so they have the screen in there, and they pull up the log, okay? This log that had Cecil's timeline. So they pull up the big screen, and then Ajay says, "Explain what this is." She said, "This is a knowledge C database. It has internal I thought she said internal and external data base. There's tons of information stored. Can't see the main thing recorded is I couldn't hear some of this stuff. So they get meaningful information, and it tends to be the most meaningful information what's this? I don't forget Department of Homeland Security, Libby's phone 915.
No, sorry, that was for me. I was putting in
Oh.
there's 5 total extractions, so I was trying to remember the 5th one and I couldn't. So
Oh.
Sleepy's just helping me.
Okay. So they said, okay. So she says, what is this? She goes, basically the most meaningful, okay, keep this in mind. The most meaningful is at the end. Remember what happened with Cecil's? At the end, he's like, I looked at all this, and then there was a bunch of numbers and everything. And I just kind of like, you could keep going. He should have kept going. So she says the most meaningful stuff is recorded there. So she goes, meaningful information tends to be at the end of the database. So she goes, okay, like where do we find this? And so Ajay is scrolling, and she goes, keep scrolling. Okay, keep scrolling, so that your information to the right. So we're getting more and more information to the right. So the database, they have these, the data stops with column, I put AG. I don't know, database. Column AG MTG is what it's called, database. It works with a spreadsheet. And she said, so this table, that's what this table is. Ajay said, so at the end, at this column, this says you have 2 metadata to the right. The last thing you see is complicated. It says blob. So this bunch of numbers, she calls it a blob, and then you have to be able to extract it and put it in and get this metadata out of there, because Apple has it labeled basically blob. So you have to know how to get this information and extract to see what it means. That is what was not done by Bunner and Cecil.
So there's just a bunch of information just sitting in a blob that nobody bothered to look at.
Yes. Because people were worried because of the cross by Nick McClellan on this lady. Because she's not considered expert or whatever stuff, but like she's considered an expert, like the Knowledge C, and she actually teaches at a university, has her own company and everything. But he's asking, like, Nick crosses and does all this stuff. Did you look at Delphi? Did you actually take, look at Libby's phone? They ask all these things. There's like, no, I'm looking at the extraction of what we have. Same thing that Cecil did. Same thing that Bunner did. They extracted once, and then they took that extraction and continued to look through it. So that's what basically she did. But he was trying to like discredit her all over the place. This was one of the most combative days of trial that I've seen. Like, it got heated. Oh my gosh, it got heated because a juror yelled out. Oh, you got it on. Did you guys already hear that?
Go ahead, say that one more time.
A juror yelled out.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
When was it Luttrell that was on cross?
Yes, it was. And it was about this bullet. I'm going all over the place. Let me get back to her, but
Okay.
we can.
Okay.
I mean, I
Well,
just
you can
love.
tell us about the juror yelling out. Did anything happen with the juror yelling out? Like, did anybody tell
No,
the?
because there was so much heated from Latrell, from I think Rosie or whoever, and then from this juror, and then from the witness trying to answer, and it was all kind of converged at boom. It was
So
like a
did
little
we know who
explosion.
the juror was that actually yelled out? Do you know who it
Yeah.
was? Who was it?
Number 6. The guy that was like, because they couldn't watch all the stuff in the cell, and he's going. He's the older guy, kind of bald guy, glasses, looks real smart. Like he would be one that I would consider, like if I was going to pick the foreman, I would either pick juror number 6 or juror number 12.
Juror number. Hey.
Hey, yes, but juror number 6, that was the guy that yelled out. But we'll get back to that. Um,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
okay, so they were talking about the at the end of the AH column, the 2M MTG thing, the metadata, go on to the right, go on to the right. So she says, like, so if it's complicated, it says blob because it's complicated. So that's why most people kind of stop there, because they can get some simple extraction. They can determine certain things and things that we can't get. But if you get an extraction, you can get simple things. And then they stop there because they don't go deeper into it, because maybe they're not, don't have enough knowledge. So were you able to dig deeper? She said, yes, I was. Do you agree that, like, that there are date and time stamps of some of these um these things, like FaceTime? There was one message on the phone, February 13th and 14th on 2017. Oh, iMessage. So she says, were there times when Libby's phone didn't connect to the cell tower? She said, yes, there were. She says it would be like on and off. She goes, when was the last time that it connected on February 13th? She said it was 5:45 that day. You've always heard 5:44, right?
Right. Yeah. So now we're at a 5:40, 5:44. Now, why is it different? Did she go into that or no? Does it matter?
Oh yeah. Wait,
Oh.
you're gonna just stay tuned. You're gonna hear this, okay? So then it reconnected. So she said 5:45, and I was like, I remember 5:45. So it said and then it reconnected at 4:33 on 2/14/2017. So is it customary to review cell phone provider records, before you actually like extract a phone? Yes, it is. Like, so the pings and cell phone location logged by AT&T. So what is a ping? She goes, well, it's a log from like one location to the other location. So basically it's saying, hey, are you there? This is the example she used. Hey, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Okay, we're both here. We're communicating. So that's kind of like how the tower, the phone to the tower communicates. It says, hey, I see you. I know you're there. So Nick McClellan says, um, is this let's see, is this the, hang on. I think it was from, what's the guy's name? Bunner. Is this the something from log? No, I forget. He goes, do you have he goes, just a second, let me ask you some questions real quick. So I think he's aware that she's getting ready to try to tear this other Cecil's or Bonner's apart. So he goes, before you go any further, do you have expertise in this field to be able to do this? And she goes, yes, in the FBI. He goes, well, how long ago was that? 2009. He says, so so since 2009, you haven't had this, you haven't had more training on this. Well, basically she said that she trains with the knowledge C, but her extraction stuff happened in the FBI in 2009. So she knows how to do it, and she keeps up and does regular it's informal training. She takes the classes and does all this stuff.
Right.
So he goes, at that time, could you have extracted that at that time? He said it in I don't even know what the answer was to that, because he says at that time you could not extract. He was trying to question if she could extract information like that back in 2009. I thought she said she could have, but things have changed. But I didn't write that down. He goes, "Do you have any formal training?" Since 2009. He goes, no, that's what she said, not formal training, but I've gone to like all these classes. So you had in training in Carroll County. So he's trying to apply it locally, like, hey, your stuff don't matter. So Carroll County, you know, did you walk or do you work for AT&T? She goes, no, I do not. Oh, then um, he says, I don't believe that this is the complete log, because he was handed the log of Cecil's, and he goes, I don't think this is the complete log. He goes, I'm not. And he goes, you know what, Your Honor, I'm not sure that she's qualified to talk a lot about this stuff. And so they went ahead and let him on. And then Ajay says, does this form change with basic training? Does this form change with your training? Does something change? No. So and you attend seminars and you present educational training to, like, she trains students, she has classes, she teaches at 2 different universities, and she teaches all this stuff all day long. So she goes, and then Ajay says, is there anything in Carroll County that would affect this type of training in your knowledge? And she says, not to my knowledge. So she says, and if Nick McClellan wants, we do have the log, but the log this part of the log that's most important, we're presenting today. If you want the full log, we'll be happy to give it to you. So that's what she said. So they said it was okay to publish. So this is QQQ. And it says it has the location information. It tells us about Libby's cell phone. Tells us that 544 to 433. So it tells data extraction of last connection, approximate location, the longitude and latitude. So what times are we looking at? Like the longitude and latitude, and then the connection times, the GMT. And let's see, I can't see that. And then so listen, there's so the Greenwich, whatever, meantime, and the UTC, that's the universal.
Yes, that's where you get like your negative 5s and your positive 5s, because
Yes,
everything.
yes, yes. So one is London time, the other one is like what? So like 1 p.m. In their lingo, 1 p.m. is GMT or UTC time. You basically minus 5 hours from that time. So
Right.
whatever time that's showing you, minus 5 hours, which
Correct.
that was like news to me. Said, so are the items in the cell phone records, are they stored in GMT, UTC? She goes, no. Well, they're a lot of them, they're in different formats. She goes, like, there's like numbers, not just so many numbers. She said it 3 times. She goes, we do these exams, we do it in GMT or UTC. So so that does, so Ajay says that, so the connection time GMT in Delphi. So February 13th, 2017, you subtract 5 hours for Delphi. Okay, so that's it. So we're going to admit QQQ, go to line 1. So the day and time says is on February 14th. No, I have 2:14, sorry. Or 9:33, you minus 5, it's 4:33 a.m. Yeah, it's on 2:14, maybe that's what it was.
Okay, they're
2:14.
just going through how the report reads it to what the actual time it would have been done at. Yeah.
Yeah. So like line 2, it says, so February 13th, 2017, 22:45, which is 10:44 p.m. minus 5 hours, it's 5:44 p.m. That's how they got that. So Ajay says, was there also data on Libby German's cell phone that correlates with this connection? Yes. There were a number, I have numerous, whatever. There was some data at 5:44. Okay. So I don't know if she says this yet.
Hold on, I'm going to cut you off real quick because there's 2 things that I want to clarify. Nobody has testified at all about whether the phone was wet or dry when it was found.
Correct.
Nobody has testified at all about whether the battery was dead or what the percent of battery life left on the phone was. We've not heard that from any single person that's testified so far.
Or if there was any mud, or if they didn't testify if there was any mud.
Well, the only person who testified anything about the phone appearance was the CSI, what was her name, Bovanovsky, or what, the one who was testing everything. She said that the backside of the phone that was laying down, the phone was face up, so the backside of the phone did have some debris on it, but that the top of the phone did not. It's the only thing we've heard. We've not been able to find anything out about if the phone was wet, water damage, because you know that I don't know about 6S though, so I don't want to get too far into it, but you can check your phone for water damage. Nobody said anything.
Nothing. So there's so as Ajay said, so the time we looked at earlier, it was the first, I think it was what Cecil did. The timeline shows messages that come in between 5:44 and 4:33. How? She said, so iMessage from Apple, it's the proprietary, it was the data. Instead of like, so you have to use it over like Wi-Fi. So basically, I think we went over this before, Apple used to, they changed it. So in between like your messages, it's like from between me to you, it's timestamped from sent from the sender to received. So you get that timestamp, but even though you don't get it on your phone. I know, Sleuthie, you can like fill in on that one. I don't want to get into all the details of that. So there's evidence it didn't receive those messages on time. Yes. So any messages sent between 5:44 to 4:33, yes, but not delivered. Was that time after 5:44 on the 13th? She goes, I'd have to go back and look at the time. So, so there is at 4:53, there was some calls in the background. There was voicemails that were time stamped. Did any calls between 5:44 and 4:33? Did you find when you God, I can't read that. She goes, I couldn't find evidence when the calls, but could find evidence of voicemails and numerous like voicemails between 5:44 and 4:33, but that weren't delivered at that time. So when were they delivered? Not until the 17th. I have the 17th.
I read that in the article too. I was like, dang. So some of the voicemails didn't actually even come through on the phone for days later.
And you know why? Because that was like they turned it on for the extraction stuff.
Oh.
Because it was off.
No, they did. They turned it off. They turned
And they
it
should
back
have extracted. They should have done some extraction before all that stuff came
Didn't
on.
Didn't they? Hold on. Didn't? That's probably not even relevant. So Shibby's going to say that I'm filibustering again. But I think somebody said they turned it on. I thought it was the 15th. I'll figure out the date. Don't worry about it. You keep going.
Okay. So the next thing was she was talking about pings. It's like, hey, how do pings work? Hey, are you here? Yeah, I'm here. Okay, we're here. She went over that already. So how are the pings different from tower data? She said AT&T is repeatedly trying to ping the cell. Okay, so like that's what she was learning. Like they were trying to ping it for them during the investigation, and it was after 5:44, and it isn't successful until again 4:33. So AT&T pings when the voicemail's delivered. Yes. So let's go to Apple Health data. How does that work? She goes, well, only Apple knows because, it's like their secret sauce. It measures movement and vibration and, up and down, that kind of thing. It's all built in. So do you have an explanation for why the phone, if stationary in one place on February 13th, 5:44, and didn't get any other information at 4:33, do you have an explanation why this stuff didn't come in? She goes, well, I could find no evidence to to say why it didn't connect or what happened during that time. So what could cause this? She goes, well, the phone could have been moved. The cell phone didn't get signal because it was blocked. She says, what about metal? Could that block the cell phone? She says, yeah, that could. And she says, but you don't know what happened, right? She said, no, I don't. So is there research of the steps on the steps of elevation? She said, yes, it comes from Forensic Institute. Why don't I have that? Let me see if I'm saying this right. Is there research on occasional I have something of steps, and I have elevation. Yes, it comes from Forensic Institute of Netherlands. Oh,
Oh,
about
they're
the
talking
alpha
about how,
health.
yes.
About
Mhm.
yeah, about the EPA health, because the Netherlands actually, what they were doing is they did research. Oh, there's a fly on my phone. They did research and they wanted to find out how accurate this health data was. So they measured it, and they did see that it demonstrated the accuracy of the steps. The steps were most accurate. The distance could be off by 30 to 40%. So in vigorous motion, there was, I don't think I don't know if it says was vigorous motion was not accurate. I don't know. I can't read my notes. Sorry, I was writing fast. So also they looked at the speakers, Bluetooth device, all that stuff. So Ajay says, do you agree that the research do you agree that research is incomplete? She says, no, it's complete. And then there was an objection. And then Ajay says, what does research, tell us? Oh, what does your research tell us? So like she goes like, for instance, like this number one, that's what they were talking about. The log, okay? The log, what does that show us? She says, well, it shows number one. What is that? Headphone. Okay. Were you able to see 545? Yes. What happened in knowledge C data? Okay. The TTT. She says, well, and she said, if we look at the audio output route, okay, basically what that knowledge C did when she started scrolling over to the right and there was a blob, she went further than Cecil did for the extraction, and she found that this knowledge C that was a blob was actually audio input headphones. Okay. So so it says, I don't know, the PK row and database. You guys can't see it. I mean, like, I don't know. None of this means anything to me because it says keep scrolling to the right. We want to see more dates. Keep scrolling. So they're scrolling on the screen. She goes, there were several output audios that day. Okay. This information is from 2:13, 10:30, 10:32 p.m. This record.
Mhm.
Okay. 10:32. Okay. So you look at two stats that were put in there. Okay. What happened at 5:45 on 2:13? It happened at 5:45 and it ended on 2:13, 10:30 p.m. So she says, if you look at this column, the next one, so they're looking at this column, they're describing the whole thing there. And she says, what happens is number one in Cecil's report that he did, there's a headphone being inserted to Libby's cell phone at 5:45 p.m. So they actually took. So she says, is there all that data that shows is that they're wired headphones? The blob that he didn't extract and he left it, and this case would have been left alone. Those were the wired headphones. So they demonstrated with the 6S, and they had wired headphones. Were they like this? They had the old phone like that, and they said it would be when you plug that in to that little hole on the bottom. Isn't that crazy to think that if you put stuff like that in, it like logs it in your phone? Those wire headphones were plugged in at 5:45, and milliseconds before it plugged in, there was a phone call, and so whoever went, so the phone was ringing, and
It cuts off the phone call.
yep. So it might have been ringing in the earphones, but guess what? Nobody can hear it. Okay. So what happened? He
This
goes,
doesn't make any. You guys can't see my face. Hold on. This doesn't make any sense though to the timeline for the state at all. It just doesn't. It doesn't. It does not make any sense to their timeline.
but it makes sense to potential. I mean, it makes sense to us that have been kind of looking at this and saying, where were they? I mean, this data, this particular data is not lying. Even though, oh my God, even though Nick tried to debunk it, but we'll so she
Okay.
says, so she says, so I had the iPhone, she demonstrates this, she plugs it in, says, so then what happened? She goes, well, then someone removed that cable at 10:30, I
2.
think 10:32. That's what I have. 10:32. Then someone removed the cord on the 13th at 10:32. Okay. She says, so are those, is that a secure connection? You know, like, can you explain? Can you explain something interaction? I don't know. Can you explain that? Like how that would happen? Like it would have to be basically she said it would have to be a human interaction with that phone to get that connection. And then she says, so she goes, what it did was when whoever plugged it in, it stopped the sound from coming out of the phone, or they either did it to stop the phone, the sound coming, or to hide it. Objection! You don't know if they were trying to hide it. And she
Okay,
said
so I
that.
have a question real quick, and I'm probably skipping ahead, but this is a question we had before you hopped on too. Is it possible, and did anybody from either side, defense or prosecution, talk about water getting into the headphone port and what that would do?
Oh yeah, we talked about that. That was talked about because let me see if I have to fast forward. So see,
It's okay, you don't have to. Just I want you answered yes, so I'll wait for it.
yeah, it was. So
I
I'll
want
tell
to
you,
see beforehand.
so Cecil did the health data. You know, there was flights climbed, yes, and so like there was 2 flights, and each flight was 10 feet, yes. So Nick McLeanly goes, wait a minute, how much training, in the cell phone extractors you have? She goes, well, I see this the whole time. He's like, well, basically, you're not qualified. How much time the extraction in FBI? She goes, I had it in the FBI. I've had recent training. I've on how to get this data. I teach classes. Da da da. So he goes, so let me look in your resume here, and you say you've been able to get data and stuff. He goes, so you've had training in 2023, yeah. So and you had several in 2023. Is that training your most current, April of 2023, in October 2020? She goes, actually, it's April of 2024 and October 2024. But it's not on her resume because she just had some recent training. He said, so what is your recent training? And he's just basically trying to discredit her. I won't even tell you all the questions.
You're
He's
fine.
like,
You can tell us.
okay. So he says, what's your recent training? She goes, I focus on how to process extraction that data. He goes, so in 2009, he goes, so in 2009 to 2024, she goes, no, the training, hang on. She had training in 2009, but she continued to just keep saying that keeps up in regular training. It's almost like if you ask me as a nurse anesthetist, when did you graduate from the anesthesia program? Well, I graduated in 1998. That's the last time they taught.
You're not trained on anything since 1998. Then you know nothing.
Right. It's like, no, dude, I do continuing ed
Right.
and I continue to practice. Oh, well, you haven't had formal training. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Sorry.
Well, it's no, you're apologizing for saying shit on my channel. You're funny.
But it's like that's like he was getting like anxious. Like, you know what? If you are the prosecution, I don't care. Do you want the truth? I mean, like, I would be like, if both sides want the truth, in which both sides should want the truth, tell us what you found, lady. I would like to know. But no, it's like, I don't want you to say anything, so I'm going to try to discredit you. It's almost like a competition. It's like we're win-win. You know what's going to win is the girls need to win, because we need to find out if this guy didn't do it and this is all a setup and you guys failed on your end, then let the truth be known and let's find the real killer. So Nick says that oh, your testimony focused on videos in the past, because he's looking at previous when she testified before. He's trying to discredit that. Like, he's, oh, well, you looked at videos and not the extraction. And in July, you did a cell phone analysis. Do you have that number? Like, he wanted the cause number. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't remember that. So he goes, Did you get any information from AT&T? No. Did you get any information if where the cell phone was found? Well, you know, she was basically told about it, but like, he asked, like, did you go there? Did you check where the cell phone was? Did you go to the crime scene? Did you go to da da da? But he said, but you had information about the cell phone under Abby. Yes. So he said, did you have an opportunity to examine the cell from 2017 to 2024? No, basically she was asked to examine the data that Cecil did and the Bunner did. So that's all she needed to do, because that's all they continue to do. And they can hook it up to whatever extraction. So he says, this is him saying this, like, basically, where did you, I think, sorry, like, focus, I don't know, it says, where did you narrow the cell phone with the health, Apple, and steps? I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly what they said. She talks about 433. So what was happening? I went back to, oh, that's what he wanted to know. How far back did you go? And she said that she went back to, like, I think 10 o'clock. I don't know, the night before, something. Let me see. I don't know. Sorry, I don't have that one. It says 1050 low battery. Did you go back on 213? Did you review videos? She goes, I found evidence of she goes, oh yeah, I did review the videos because I found evidence of manipulation that you guys did with the video, which we already know that they manipulated the video so that they could zoom in and get all that stuff. So you agreed with so basically now he's trying to get her to agree with everything. The Apple Health data. Did you agree with the report? She said, yes, I agreed. Did you agree with this data? But she goes, but I agreed with the data, but I didn't agree with the opinions. So yeah, the data's there and I'm in agreement because basically the data doesn't lie if they'll say that. But I didn't agree with the opinion, which is their report and the outcome, because they didn't look at the blob. So you saw the last movement at 2:32 p.m. She goes, correct. So you reviewed the data? Yes. The last movement, 2:32, correct. He goes on. I mean, like, he took over, like he's doing all this cross. So you agree that the phone didn't move. I agree it didn't log movement. Because he's like, oh, you didn't move. Log movement.
Well, because she clarified, she like was like, if it's in a car or whatever, it's not going to log the movement. So she's saying, yeah, I can't tell you whether the phone moved or not. I can tell you that the data shows the phone was not moved.
Yes. So we're all
on the phone. Two different things.
So we're all catching. She's making sure she puts that, like, it didn't log movement. I'll agree with the data, and it did. I'm not gonna say it didn't move. I'm just gonna say it didn't log movement. So he said, you testified this measures movement, that the Apple Health data. And so how does that work? She goes, well, it has to be, like, if it's in a vehicle, whatever, it has to be vigorous. It has to be bouncing. So, like up and down. He said, you testified it may not register movement in a vehicle. Then that's when she said it was, it has, she said, like, the first bump. So the data shows, like, first bump, it may not register. But and then if it's several bumps, because it almost like defaults, like, oh, you're in a car and you're going over a bump. But then if there's several and they're vigorous, then it might register. So so they said it could create movement in the health data. Yeah. So at 2:32 to 4:33, until the rest of the life of the phone, you didn't see any, like, movement or logged movement. Correct. And can you find evidence if the phone turns on and off? No evidence of phone on and off. So 5:45 was the last time. In and out of service. Sometimes you could receive service. So in and out of service, Nick McLean says, were you able to study the topography there? No. Were you able to speak with investigators about the cell tower and how the cell tower was functioning? Blah, 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 blah. So he's trying to bring her back to here, like, hey, you weren't here. We have certain things that happen. So you're not gonna understand it. So he's trying to kind of distance her from this crime, in this data, but the data is what she has from this crime. So So then he says the phone continued to get calls, iMessages between 2:32 and 5:44. Yes, it didn't receive calls
So the
in
5:44, the last time it's getting this phone call. 5:44, this phone call's coming in. The headphones are plugged in 5:45, and then 10:32 is when the auxiliary cord is unplugged.
yeah, and at 5:45 he's there. It's being plugged in, and there's a phone call. They
Yeah.
said literally was milliseconds. They said. And so he says to her, "You didn't find any evidence that the phone had moved." Well, no. So it seems to me to plug in headphones, you would have to register health data, right? Am I right or not? Yeah, it could be. Could plugging in headphones register in health Apple data? She goes, well, did she said she didn't test to see like to plug it in and to see if it would register. That might have been a good thing to test, but we'll find here in a minute. So you testified that the phone was um I think the last movement 4:33 was when it was. I don't know what I have. Anyhow, received stuff at 4:33, and you have no evidence that it was moved, right? She goes, well, there could be like what could happen? Well, there could be a signal blocker that stops the phone from receiving a signal. There could be a metal building. Yes. So the likely explanation was the phone was going in and out of service. Listen, you know how many times I've been at that crime scene?
A lot.
A lot. Um, I was even on a FaceTime down there, and there was a little bit of a lag with the signal. I still had nothing dropped ever. And I'm telling them, I'm talking like back in 2017. Because if people say, "Wow, you did that later," no, I did it then because I was testing. You know when the worst signal was? The worst signal was at the south end of the bridge. That's when I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh
Weber.
shit." So that's why Brad Weber testified yesterday that he had to receive text messages, which I already think he already knew the investigators, and they said, "Hey, we'll text you," but because they would drop all the time, and so that's they could get the text messages, but like it would just drop. That was the worst part was down there. It was all kind of wire. It's all haywire at that south end of the bridge, and then maybe halfway to the creek. Once I got to the edge of the creek on Weber's property, went across and went over the other way, it was still good. And then also I came around the other way and went down that big ravine, and there was just a little scattered, but it never and nothing ever dropped. So for that to go that many hours, I just no, I
So
don't.
I wondered that myself. Like, could it go, almost 12 hours without getting a signal at all?
You know
So I
what?
just want to clarify the
Who can go
phone.
12 hours with their phone without it dying too?
Well, so I want to clarify. So the phone, when they were talking about the phone moving, the testimony, from my understanding, is the phone does not log any movement.
Doesn't
So
yeah.
not that the phone never moved. She cannot testify to the physical phone not moving. What she's testifying to is that the phone never logged any movement. So
Right.
the point of that is like if the phone is turned off, it's not going to log movement. That's number one. But I do think that gets clarified that she does not see that the phone was powered off.
Right.
I think that's one thing we have to kind of just put outside of it. And then number two, let's say that the phone is laid in, like, you get in your car,
Yeah.
your phone is technically moving, right? It's
Mhm.
moving with your car, but it's not going to log that as a
Your
movement.
health data, the Apple Health data. It's not going to do that.
Right.
So then he wants to ask her, "Hey, are you aware of the resources that of our area of ISP and everything in relation to the deaths of Abby and Libby?" Well, no. What is he said, what is a drive? Okay, I think there was what is a drive study? So a drive study is where you drive around and you see a signal and you test it to see what your signal can get at a tower. Uh, Now I don't know what this is. She said that she saw a report about this because there was a documented leak in 2019. Do you know what that's about?
The clothing.
Of the like the cell tower stuff. because I have that on there, and a lot of us went, what? And it was just like they glazed by it. She goes, oh yeah, I did know about the drive study because I saw a documented leak in 2019. Okay, so then
Great.
Ajay says, do you know if the drive study was available in 2017? Then there was objection, speculation, and then Ajay says, Nick asked you about plugging in the phone. Yes, if Abby's okay, so if Abby's body wasn't on top of the cell phone, would it have moved? I mean, could let me see something. I gotta see my nose. I'm sorry. Wasn't on top of cell. Would phone have been moved? Is it possible the phone have been moved? She says not necessarily. Could it be? Could the phone would not have to be where it would log steps? So like if it was in a vehicle, if the phone was in a vehicle, then would it log steps? Would it log and start counting steps? Or wouldn't log and start counting steps? Correct. So Ajay said, so if at 4:33 the phone is somewhere else, would it log movement? What do I have?
So all of this movement, though, I get.
And it powers down, and it powers down, and it powers down. Would it log movement? No.
Okay, but this is all from the Apple Health data,
Yes.
not from the actual phone data. This is, I guess, where I'm getting confused because the Apple Health data, I mean, although it's good, it's not like it's not.
No,
Go ahead.
not all this information was it from Apple Health. They
Okay.
had the phone log data about the plugging in and all that stuff. But then what they're trying to establish is it was probably taken from it was probably somewhere else before these girls were ever put there. So basically I think what they're trying to establish is that look, these girls weren't there. They went somewhere else. This thing was plugged in for a while, and then it was unplugged at 10 o'clock at night. And basically, these girls were taken back, probably murdered there, whatever. They didn't say that, but that's what I'm getting. So they're trying to say that there's a reason there's not logging or logging the steps on there is because that they were somewhere else and that phone was with them. I think that's what they're trying to get at. I mean,
Okay.
look, you guys know all the information. I mean, it looks like, Abby was potentially gagged and for that all to happen at the crime scene like that, how can there's a time issue. They did a drive study, yeah, which is telling how the phones hand off the signal between the cell site location and areas where the signal is strong and or weak. It helps understand timing. Thank you, DB. Appreciate that. Okay, so yes, and it says if at 4:33 on the phone, if the phone is somewhere else and powers down, would it detect movement? It said no. But Nick McClellan then says, well, if the phone was being carried, would it log data in the health app? She goes, well, it would log movement. He goes, well, it could. She goes, well, it could. Just depends. And then they were talking about it moving in a car. What if you hit a bump? It depend on the bump. Well, if the phone's under a body or and under a shoe, a movement of being plugged into the headphone, would it, test that? He asked that again. He said, well, I don't know. So then, so then we're all thinking, man, like you can't get the gist of how he was trying to discredit her. I mean, he was going at it. It was a heated day. And
So at the end of her testimony, so you keep going. So the jurors ask her some questions, but I guess I'm just curious on how, when you very first came on, you were thinking that like she wasn't the best witness.
well, okay, so no, I think she did a good job. I'm talking about like her credentials. And listen, at first we weren't sure because we're thinking, oh, Cecil and Bunner, I think I like, okay, so just in the layperson's mind, layperson mind like me is like, oh, we got Cecil and Bunner. They've done all this research, blah 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 blah. They're ISP, they're law enforcement. They all, you always like I think in most people's minds, they're law enforcement and they have all this training, so they're probably maybe better than this lady that's teaching classes and then doing this
Oh, I got you.
extraction.
Okay.
And they're closer to the investigation. They're heavily involved in Carroll County, and you got this person coming from the outside, and he's trying to discredit her. But I
Got
think
it.
she held her own. She held her own. And there's no question that this had to be physically done, that's plugged in at 5:45 milliseconds before that. The plug in, there's a phone ringing, it goes away. Then at 10:32, I think, then it's physically unplugged. So the jury questions, but I want to tell you what shored this up for all of us, because we were talking like, oh my gosh, I said, are they going to bring they're going to have to bring Cecil and Bunner back in, and I had no idea that the defense was bringing them right in. That was so good for this lady. It was
Okay,
good
so
for
can you do the jury questions? Because as the jury who asked Eldridge about the water in the port thing, because I'm getting some mixed information on the reporting of that.
okay, so let me go down. There was freaking a lot of them. Okay, did you ever write your own report for the timeline of the Libby's events? Yes. Okay. Could you could any knowledge C database be related to Libby German's iPad? She said, well, if it connected but was not signing off, she goes, basically not syncing. So if it's connected but not syncing, she said that it actually has its own separate thing, so it wouldn't necessarily be the same. So would the iPad have a separate knowledge C data? She says, yes, it would. Like, your pictures, your files, messages. And then the other person says, would water or moisture affect the movement? And she says, well, I don't know. Number 5, would water affect the plug-in? She goes, well, I don't have knowledge about that. Water damage can affect it working properly. Like all of us know what it's like to drop your phone and then it doesn't work. You got to dry it out so it doesn't work properly. But once it's dried out, it will. Okay, so can you tell the iPhone data? Like the vibration. Like can you tell by iPhone data if it's on and vibrates or rings? I think they meant like if it vibrates like that, does that make steps? You know how like if you go over a bump, I think that's what they meant by that.
Okay.
You go over a bump, like so if sound vibrate and it rings, would that make an Apple data make it? Because when people were trying to call, I think in their mind, the jury's mind, they put it on silent. Like Libby put it on silent, and the people were calling it and ringing. Maybe it was making. I don't know.
That's my big thing, Sleuthy, is like Sleuthy's saying, the people who've tested this phone would know if there was water damage to the phone, and no one is telling us how the damage is.
Guys, I'm telling you, there's a reason they don't tell you there's water damage, because there's no water damage. They were able to power this phone up just fine, no
That's what I'm
problems
thinking.
on the 15th, right? Or is that right? On the 15th.
Well, I just keep going back to like the when we talked about like the medical examiner with the toxicology. They don't even bring up toxicology because nothing showed up on it, so nobody brings it up. The same thing about
Don't you think
brings it
exactly?
up.
Don't you think that if there was water damage, they'd be like, well, we tried to
Yes,
power it on, but because there was water damage, we were able.
yes.
That's what they would do.
Nick
It's
would be
almost
doing
like
that on his cross. He would be saying to her, "Well, was there water damage? How much water damage was there? Do you know what the water damage affected?" I just there's no water damage. I can't come across water damage because I think that we would have heard about it.
No, there's not any water damage. I don't think that it affects. I don't think it's going. I think I don't think I bet you anybody could do this. If you the guy did a Google search, by the way, when he get, well, we'll talk about that. It says, is there a device or equipment that could be plugged into that port to scramble like signal? And
No.
I like she's I don't think she knew. And would you be able to blah blah blah. I didn't get that. I didn't get number 8. There was like two of them. I was writing so fast,
Mm.
they kept going through. Are there other apps that would register movement? She said yes. There's lots of apps. What apps are they? And she listed a few of them that would do this. But Apple Health is built in, you know, like kind of automatic. So then we had a recess, and then oh my gosh, okay. Do you see this word that I wrote
Hold on, let me make you big.
on the side here?
Bitch. Who was being a
She
bitch?
was so mean.
Who?
Go.
Oh, what happened?
So we went and took a recess, and then after the recess, we came back. So they let this lady go. She's done with her questions and everything. She goes, okay. Members of security in the back have said that folks are talking in the gallery. She goes, stop talking. She goes, and if you're speaking and you're caught speaking, she goes, look, she didn't even know it. She's never said hush to all this people. And she goes, law enforcement's going to come and tap you on your shoulder, and they are going to escort you out, and you will not be coming back. Stop talking.
This is to the gallery?
Yes, she's so mean.
Were people talking like where it was like disruptive?
No. Listen, when they do the sidebars and they have that shh, you know,
Yeah.
people might be leaning over, but you know, they're pretty good. Maybe every now and then you'll have like a whisper, but it's not like disruptive to the whole thing. Did law enforcement tattle on us? Because it feels like it. I'm she said. I'm having yeah, basically she said law enforcement. Well, they're watching, they see some of you guys whispering. It's like, you know what? I can tell you who's whispering. It's there's a lot of
Everybody
people.
probably is talking to somebody when there's nobody and they're just sitting there. So this
There's
is
young
so no
kids in there.
so the
They're young-
jury
they're-
is the jury in the courtroom when she's reprimanding the gallery or no?
Yeah, no, the jury didn't come back. The jury wasn't in.
Okay.
No.
So did she ever talk to the jury and tell them anything
She
about the
went all bad
outburst?
in front of the jury. She always goes like this. Good morning, jury. I hope you've had a wonderful day, rested night. Again, you know, and she does that. So she wants to appear pretty nice to him.
Well, that's how judges are. They become their best friend. That they judges always want the jury to love them.
Yeah, if they would have seen her, they would have been like, oh my God, you're in with the prosecution. Done deal, you know. But so anyhow, they brought Cecil in. It was very fast. Okay, so and then I got two here. I'm almost done. Guess what? So Christopher Cecil in, First Sergeant. You know, you previously testified. This is Ajay. We're going to have Defense Exhibit E. This is the table that you prepared as part of the extraction. Yes. So there's a note at 452 and 458. It says audio input. Do you see that? It says start audio output. Do you know what that is? I do not. Are you able to discuss the reason the cell phone connected to a tower? No, I do not. I do not have any information on that. Okay.
Doesn't have any information on whether the phone registered to a tower?
Yeah, it says, are you able to discuss the reason cell phone connected to a tower? I think that was at the 5:45 when it got the phone call. Because remember, didn't they say at 5:44? Didn't they say wasn't 5:44 to stopped, and then they said it to the next morning, right? Because we have like a minute later. Remember, it was 5:40, 5:44 was supposed. So, what do you have any information on that one? No, I do not. Nick goes, wait a minute. Were you present during this? I don't know, during the something test of the law, whatever. I think yes. According to what Miss Eldridge testified, it would be headphones. So that's what he's saying. So he's saying, well, what this is, according to what she testified, what I'm reading her notes, it would be that there were headphones inserted into Liberty German's phone. And Nick says, were you able to? I have Nick saying this. Were you able to identify a time? No. So the most recent research was in 2022. Yes.
Hold on, I want to back up. Okay, so Ajay's asking him, you have on your log that there's this 544 545 audio export or whatever it is. You have something logged on for the audio at that, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah, he did. So listen, he didn't. It was a blob. It was a blob. So he's being asked if he even knows what start audio input or whatever, output or whatever it is. Start audio output, I think is.
Output start, yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't know what that is. And he's like, I don't know what that is.
So wait. Okay. So you were able to say that the headphones were plugged in, correct? No, he says. So did you hear the jury? They were asking questions about, water damage. Like, could water damage mean? He says, yeah. So did you have a chance to look that up? I think this is when Nick McClellan's asking. Well, yeah, I had a chance to look that up, and he looked it up on Google. So there's an objection. She goes, oh, well, you were able. So then Ajay says, yeah, I looked up on, so that's an objection. You're looking up on the World Wide Web. So there's water damage. I looked it up. It says water or dirt can make it look like the phone was connected, if it's shoved up in there. So what Ajay says, so what Google site did you use? He goes, oh, there's a lot of them. He goes, a lot of people just Google and they're trying to help themselves, like try to fix their phone. And so they'll just Google it. So that's what I did. She goes, well, and then he said, I think Nick said, then you testified accurate. Hang on. Can't read my note. Nick said, did you look into did you look into accessing the output function? No. I think I had Nick because he didn't look into that. Do you normally go to Google? Okay, now this is when Ajay says, do you normally go to Google to look up, like, get your research to figure out how to, like, do extractions? And he's like, no. He goes, so, like, you normally go to peer review and research articles, right? Correct. So Ajay says, so are there things on the web that are not reliable? Yes. And that are false? Yes. And they're just completely, they're just made up. Yes.
So he goes to Google to figure out whether Eldridge could be right or wrong. Like what
he did.
else?
He did it during the break because he was going to be called to tell. He did it during because I have to tell you something. Preface this. They did ask if Bunner, and they said that Nick McClellan said that Bunner and Cecil should be in the courtroom when Eldridge was testifying. Everybody agreed that was fine. So when they took the break before they came in to testify, after Eldridge testified, he got on Google to look to see if that could potentially affect it.
Oh my God. Okay.
So and then he admitted, I don't do anything. I do peer review. I do peer review articles.
This is their fucking expert that literally takes a break and goes out and Googles the answer. I can't.
So she says, did you look for water damage? Nope. Did anyone look for water damage? Not to my knowledge. So if the phone had water damage, who could do that? He said, law enforcement, who had it. So what about dirt? He said, well, who could look for that? Law enforcement, they had it. So do you know whether dirt was found? He goes, no, I don't know. So she says, you've had this phone for 7.5 years to turn in information, to assess all this information as a potential. You could have looked into all this, and you didn't. Not that. And then Nick says, well, the phone was found under the body, under Abby Weber. Is it possible there could have been? I think he was asking if it's possible. There could have been moisture possible. So the Brian Bunner ISP literally had like he was there like 5 seconds. Ajay says that you previously testified on Libby Jones' cell phone, right? On 2/15/2017. Yes. Have you done any since? She goes, you mean physical extraction? Not physical. Not the physical. Well, do you know what audio output, start audio output means? No. So during the break, did you go Google anything? No. No further questions. And jury had no questions.
Did the jury have any questions for Cecil?
No. And it was like, I want to do that to Ajay. I told her that. I said, it was boom. It was like boom, boom. At first people were like, oh my gosh, what if the jury's thinking that she's not qualified? And what's this headphone thing? I want to write it off.
Oh my God.
Then the defense brought these two guys in and it just was boom, boom. And I did this and I said Ajay, because she came over and I talked to her because I was with her sister. And I went, like you were on fire there.
Fire. We knew that she was going to be fire when it came to the phone stuff. She's been antsy in all the hearings wanting to talk about the phone stuff. So somebody asked, whose experts are these? So just to clarify, Cecil and Bunner are both state witnesses that were called, or I think both. Yeah, both. I don't know if Bunner was actually called or not. I don't know why I don't remember that. But either way, they work for the state. They were in charge of the extractions of Libby's cell phone. Bunner did the ones in 2017. Yeah. Cecil did the one in 2019 and 2024.
Yeah.
They were called today as defense witnesses. So even though they're the state's quote unquote experts in this category, the defense called them back to talk to them about why they didn't have this information.
Yes. Yeah,
that their expert had.
This was like the three of them helped it just, I don't want to say it helped the defense. I just want to say it helped bring
the lack of
truth to something that's been hidden. Truth is, because that lady, she's like, I teach, this is what I do. I teach knowledge C all day long. I teach how to extract this stuff. And when you get a blob, most people, basically, it's like most people want to run from it because it's all these numbers. It's like, okay, I understand all this stuff. It's told me enough about the location, the data. It's like where your mind wants to go. And when you get this blob, you might ignore it because then you have to put it in software, and then you have to look deeper into it. And he just stopped. And what she said, that the most meaningful information was gathered there. And then at the very end, you guys, so they sent the jury out, and then they had all 6 attorneys behind the screen, and she's back there doing a sidebar. It was a long sidebar. And then she comes back and says, thanks for the opportunity for you to be here, and then that was it. We recessed. So
wait, the judge said thanks for the opportunity?
Yeah, she said she told us thank you for the opportunity for us to do the sidebar. And also it was like our patients or something, because she did a sidebar with all 6 attorneys. They went behind the screen and everything, and it was like, okay. Just after she just yelled at us and told us basically, shut up. I was like, what? I hate to say this, but I've lost a lot of hope and like faith in our like who protects us. And like that they won't abuse the power that they've been given. Because what I have seen in this case, and there's such an abuse of the power and the position that people are entrusted with to help, provide justice to people in our country, and I'm sure, I mean, like, it's hard to process, really. It is. I mean, I'm 58 years old and I am astounded at, like, I lived Ted said I lived under a rock all my life. I like to be under a rock or wearing rose-colored glasses because I think
It's
I
tough
know.
when it's tough when the reality of the situation is hitting you right in the face and you're going like, hey, like these guys really didn't do shit to try to figure out what happened to these two girls. I
Well, just
mean,
like not like just them lacking, but like even when they're testifying that they're covering up, you know. So
so
um
quick question then. I know you probably your dinner's probably very close to being done.
yeah, I think
Uh,
my honey's cooking dinner, but yeah,
so
he's almost.
can you tell us how the jury was looking throughout these testimonies? Did you happen to get a peek at any of them?
Yeah, I did. Oh, I forgot to tell you. So so when there was that, because we didn't go, you guys can
Yeah,
watch Andrew for
we did
that.
afternoon.
Yeah, but when they were when Latrell was asking about the ballistic stuff, like uh you know turning the, like when you're testing and you turn the gun a certain way and that illuminates the light or something like that, and so that the witness is trying to explain, and every time he started to explain, so Latrell was like heated and he was just kept trying to stop and he was getting so mad, and then and he was like, Your Honor, I asked him a question and he just keeps talking, mommy. And it was that's how it was, like
Trell said or
yeah,
McCleveland?
Latrell. He's like, Your Honor, I asked him a question and he just keeps talking. I just want him, he doesn't need to keep talking. And then she goes, It's a yes or no answer, like that. And then so he asked him another question, and the guy started to answer because he wanted to kind of expound on it, to give it some context. And
Right.
when he did, and Latrell starts interrupting him and asking him another one, and he's almost like jumping on him. And the number 6 juror goes, let him answer the question.
Did
And
did they let him answer the question?
yeah, but it was like, it was heated. It was heated. So,
Why was he getting so mad? Was
well,
the answer
come
to the
on.
question like
This
that
this
bad
is
though?
no, it was the entire time. It's about the ballistics testing, and they were going against Melissa Oberg's. This is the expert one against Melissa Oberg stuff. So,
I just can't believe she didn't reprimand the juror.
uh, no, she actually stuck with Latrell. Unfortunately, she sided with him. I'm
But
gonna go check.
the guy did get to answer the question.
Yeah, he ended up he did get to answer the question, but I can't remember. So I'm checking my husband. I'm waiting on my kids to get here.
Oh, they're coming
I
too?
didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were here. What? Okay. Well, hey, you guys, I'm gonna get off here because.
Yes, go enjoy your dinner. We
Okay. All
appreciate
right. Thank
you
you.
so very
All
much.
right.
We
Bye
love
bye.
you. Thank
Okay. Love
you,
you
and we'll
too. Bye
see you
bye, guys.
tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, goodness gracious, you guys. Oh, shoot. What the heck? What's up with my camera? Oh, I guess I'll keep it off then. It's all blurry. I am so pissed that this trial is not, that we cannot watch this. I'm so pissed that we cannot watch this. Because I still have so many questions. I mean, I just have so many questions about certain things and how things are reported. So anybody who came in late, we did not cover or I should say, we covered on our own, myself and the chat covered on our own the morning part of testimony. When Julie was able to hop on, she started off with where we were kind of at, which was was after lunch with the defense witness, Stacey Eldridge, who was the expert on cell phone data. So we did not dig into the first. Well, Betsy Blair was kind of simple. We did dig into her, but then there was the doctor who I do have a video that I'd like to play you guys, but I'm not going to do it now because I know there's where there's a lot of people covering the actual trial, and I want to go. Nobody, nothing. No, I don't sit on it. There's no fence. He's not guilty. I have no fence. My fence was down as soon as the state rested with a bunch of bullshit. I got nothing. I'm a not guilty. I have no fence. The fence came down. It was gradually coming down. I was waiting for them to answer these 5 questions I had. They gave me nothing. Now, once again, my opinion is irrelevant to the end of this whole thing. I do not have a say so in what happens in this case. I mean, the jury of 12 is the only one who's going to decide that. So my fence being down literally means nothing to what this jury is going to think. The jury is the one who heard his confessions. We did not hear them. We were told about them. They're gonna be able to base that on their feelings, their gut instinct, their, you know, what the evidence, you know, the evidence surrounding that is. That's going to be up to them. That is not up to me. I can only tell you my opinion. My fence is gone. I do not sit on a fence. I believe he is not guilty. The jury doesn't know everything I know, and I think for me the biggest ticker is that fucking van that I've known about, that van forever, and they're trying to act like it's something that only the killer would know. Well, how the fuck do I know about it then? Like, that's where I'm at with it. Like, don't try to lie to the jury and say that's something only a killer would know when it's been social media fodder for 7 years. So that's where I'm at. Like, I got no offense. I think the state's case is bullshit. Now, if you want to know if I think the guy is factually innocent, I cannot answer that, because for me, I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll ever know who actually committed this crime, because, once again, this is my opinion. I do not believe we'll ever know who committed this crime, simply because this fucking law enforcement group of people were so idiotic and incompetent that they screwed up. So, factually innocent, if you guys understand the difference, so there's, you know, guilty by his peers, you know, the jury of 12. There's not guilty. Not guilty does not automatically mean innocent. And then there's factually innocent, which means somebody else committed this fucking crime and he's not the right guy. So I got no offense. They did not prove legally to me, which I am a nobody. I'm nobody. I'm just a person on YouTube. So, like, take it for what you want. You can agree with me. You could disagree with me. You could take my opinion, throw it in the trash. I don't care. I'm just a girl sitting here telling you my opinion. So for me, I don't know whether the guy's factually innocent or not. I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll ever know. That's where I'm at with it. I don't think you'll ever know, because I don't think they could actually prove that anybody committed this crime. I think they fucked up so bad. That's where I'm at with it. And, you know, it's on the state to have to prove to that jury beyond all reasonable doubt. And maybe they did. Maybe that jury of 12 sits there and thinks this is enough, that this is enough. For me, it's not. So that's where my final thought is on that. Do you guys, you want a portal somewhere? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? We're going to be back tomorrow to talk about day 17. There is the rumor that tomorrow the defense might be resting. We did a little we had a little conversation in our Facebook Delphi chat that, you know, who's essentially left to testify. They went through all the experts that we had lined up. So I don't know, you know, they had called in that they wanted to have Jesse James transferred from the prison. They wanted James Chadwell transferred. They wanted KK transferred. They wanted James Haas transferred. I don't know if any of those guys are even going to be relevant without the third party stuff. So I kind of put question marks next to them, and I don't really know if they're going to be important. Are they even going to get called? Are they going to call Kathy? The rumor was that Kathy was supposed to take the stand yesterday. Are they going to call Kathy, Janice, any of those? Don't know. Are they going to end it like on a here's the person that he was, you know, throughout all this time, kind of like how the state does at the beginning when they bring on, you know, your proof of life witnesses to show, like, this is the person, you know, this is who they were, this is what they were about, this is, you know, this was them when they do, like, the victims. Are they going to do that? No. And then also we had the conversation about Tony Klein along with Keegan Klein, because they added Tony to the list like the first day of jury selection or first day of trial. I don't remember which one. I'm not sure who they have left. I don't know if they really need anybody left. They did fake confessions today. I mean, really, they did fake confessions based on the solitary confinement. So I don't know if they need a separate witness for that. I don't know. I mean, I would not be surprised if the defense actually rests within the next day. I don't really know who else they would have left to call. But they didn't rest at the end of the day, so they still got somebody. They still got somebody that they have a plan to get up there. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. You think they might call Dr. Martin? Maybe. Dr. Martin, if anybody doesn't know, Dr. Martin was the one who prescribed the Halidol, which, I mean, that could be a very tricky situation because they're trying to say that the psychologist thought that he was faking it, but yet while they were faking it, the psychiatrist who comes in, Dr. Martin, actually says, give him involuntary Haldol for his psychosis, that the psychologist thought he was faking. I don't know. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I'll set up a portal. I don't know. I think Bob was live at the same time I was live. So once again, I love sending you guys to Bob's, but I think he's probably going to be on the closing end of his live. So I'll portal you guys over to Andrea. But if you want to go over to Bob, go to Bob. If you want to go to Lawyer Lee is probably live or about to go live. So there's that one. You guys you can hop over there if you want to. But this live here is going to portal over to Andrea's because that's probably where I'm going to go because she just started. So we can get her from the beginning of the day. And then I'll probably watch Bob after because then I'll want to go back to the beginning of his. So this live right now is going to portal you over to Andrea's, but you are obviously welcome to go wherever you want to go. And as always, I know you guys have 1,000 other places that you could spend your time, and yet you guys choose to spend your time here hanging out with me and discussing these cases. And I cannot thank you enough. And all of you guys with the super chats and just the commentary and the help with, specific things that when I, forget whatever word I'm trying to use, I couldn't do it without you guys. This would be nothing without you. And I know that, and I want you guys to know that I know that. So thank you. And I will see you guys out on the YouTube streets covering Delphi, and we will be back mañana.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown. Down the rabbit hole. Where it stops, no one